we need to appoint one.
Yes. Right. Good evening and welcome to the July 1st, 2021 meeting of the Litchfield Conservation Commission. Let's begin with roll call. I will begin and we will move clockwise. I am Matt Lepore. I am the chairman.
John McKibben, Vice Chair.
Kevin Lynch, Selectman's Rep.
Diane Plansky, member.
Jason Brennan, member.
Harry Manzigian, member.
Luana Vollmer, alternate.
Okay, we have 6 regular members in the room, which means that there is 1 vacancy, so I'll be appointing 1 alternate. Elena, you're up. Okay, is there any public input related to non-agenda items? Trying to make sure people out in the hallway can hear me too.
I don't know, Curtis said the Cub Scouts, I don't know if.
You're on.
You're on the agenda.
Yep.
You're number 4 now. Should I go out and communicate to the people out in the room?
I can do it if you want.
If you'd like, please
Okay.
let them know.
So they need to step forward now.
Yes, now's the time.
So can I ask everybody that's not part of stage crossing, including you guys?
Yeah.
To give us
Well,
the,
not necessarily just stage crossing, any public input related to non-agenda items.
right, but these are,
Yes.
we know these are agenda items.
Just call us in.
Are you stage crossing?
Give me a shout when you guys are ready.
Okay, thank you.
I also have some handouts that I'll circulate.
Okay, I apologize for the inconvenience.
Are we gonna appoint the secretary?
He will.
We just did it.
No, he appointed no alternate to vote.
I understand that.
Well, yeah, well,
No,
how
no,
would
we're
that work?
fine.
Because that's just the way I have the agenda written up. If I can.
All right. It's already been taken care of.
Well, she volunteered to do the beginning, right?
Yes, so that'll be okay for now.
You didn't reply to the mail. We just didn't know you were coming. We're happy that you're here. We invited you. We just didn't know you were coming.
Yeah, so the other 2 people can't come in?
Not right now. No, I'm sorry. We're at the required amount of people. We had to have people leave. So we've asked for non-public, non-agenda items. Is that what-
Yes. Good evening.
Right.
What brings you in tonight?
Well, you sent a letter and you said something about discussing the land swap.
Okay, sir, could I ask for your name and your address, please?
My name is Vincent Robato and I live at 24 Old Stage Road,
Okay.
Litchfield.
Yes, I sent you the letter last month.
Right.
Nice to meet you.
But also I was told over a month ago that you were going to contact me, which you never did.
I did by the letter.
Pardon?
I did by the letter.
Yeah, but not when I was told you were going to contact me.
Was that from Diane?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Well, I shifted the way we communicated just to make sure that it was certified letter and to make sure we were just
Okay,
reaching
that's
out to
fine.
each other directly. Okay. So basically, yes, in regards to the communication that we've had with the Attorney General's office, there's still interest in doing a land swap, I believe, for the easement. There are a couple different options considered. I'm not sure if you or your organization or the community were looking to present any other alternatives.
Well, what are your options
The option I would welcome is a land swap,
for where?
wherever we can agree to with stage crossing.
Well, do you have anything in mind?
Other than where we left off last year at the beginning of Unit 4, I have no other suggestions.
What about the option of going down by the clubhouse?
By the clubhouse, I think we did discuss that. I don't remember that. Was that through the like behind the library, through behind the clubhouse, or was that through the parking area in the
The
back?
clubhouse is
Back behind our clubhouse.
there.
Okay,
and
all right.
that's the old Strongman Road.
Yeah, sure. That sounds like a reasonable idea. Anyone have any comments on Marion?
Would we be walking up behind the clubhouse and then taking that left into the easement we have been using in the past?
So this would be a swap of that easement, and we'll be getting rid of the easement we have currently and shifting it to another easement behind the clubhouse. That's
But
the
then she-
suggestion.
Well, she's asking when you come up the hill,
Oh.
then where do you go into our property? Do you go in by unit 4 or do you continue?
No, you don't go by unit 4, really.
You could
Right
connect
through
up to the
woods.
trail, I believe, that's back in there. That's
Be
further
behind.
further
trails-
behind it.
The trail's further down
Right.
here, and then there's that ridge line is just before unit 4, there's that ridge line. And then
Okay.
of course, it's wet from clubhouse up.
Do you have something, Jason?
You gonna bring it up?
You can just bring it up on the screen so I
Alright.
don't waste time.
All right. Well,
What would that entail?
so that would entail, what's that?
We don't know what it would entail.
We'd, I believe that we would go back to the Attorney General and discuss the possibility of a land swap if we both agreed to go and meet with him and negotiate it, because I believe they have the ultimate say.
Exploration of that area would probably, sorry, Matt, but exploration of that area and how we would get across it needs to be done, I think, before we approach.
Right.
Indeed, right. That, sure. Before
Now,
then, we can.
what is the problem? What is the problem with that area as you see it?
It's wet,
We can't get through
one
it.
problem.
It's all grown up.
Well, the old road that went to the Jean House is all grown up. And then behind the clubhouse, there's wetlands. That Probably would.
Is it wetlands or is it just wet?
Wetlands. Some of it's held in by the trolley track and has become wetlands. And there are, species in there that are indicating that it's wetlands.
True, but
I mean, you could
the
bridge
driveway
it,
for the old Jean House is still there.
right, but you have to
Okay.
get to it. There's pockets of wet.
Yeah, but it's still there. They
We'd
didn't
have
dig
to
it
be
up.
able to get to that though, right, Kev?
So it'd have to be bushwhacked by
Yeah, it
a
has to
trail
be.
crew.
That'd be bushwhacked. They're used to building trails here. I think that's an option we should look at.
And then at whose expense is the trail made and the bridging and if wetlands permits are needed.
Still an option.
It
It's
would
an
be
option,
stage
yeah.
crossings financial responsibility per the Attorney General's letter.
Say that again.
Per the Attorney General's letter, it would be at stage crossings expense to do it.
I don't believe it's, John Polis, 56 on the page. I don't believe this letter says that we have to pay for it. Somebody can show me that. I got the letter right here. What it says, what the letter says is that we, the association, and you folks have to come to an agreement about some sort of either a swap or a payment or something like that.
So would you expect that the Conservation Commission would pay for that?
We're so far away from who paid for anything because we're still, we were 12 years ago about what to do with the easement. The night that the Conservation Committee got the okay, although they didn't need it from the Board of Selectmen. I think it's 12 years ago, if you check the paper. And it wasn't that night. Shortly after that night, when I found out that the easement had transferred to the Conservation Committee and not to Stage Crossing, as was my understanding with the lawyer at the time that we went to the Conservation Committee and said, sure, we're behind this. We think it's a good idea. From that time until now, we've been trying to get something done. We're no closer than we were 12 years ago. This is getting silly.
Well, true, but we need to, I think,
We have tried. I mean, we were there last month.
Yes, I know you were.
We tried at your request before 4.
I understand, but all that we've done is have a discussion like that when we still can't agree on what we're gonna do with respect to routing the easement.
okay. I hope that's the direction we can go in tonight. Meeting together and we can kind of discuss what would be beneficial for both of us, and then we can start to take those concrete steps. That's what I'd like to see. That's why I invited you all here.
For us, Joan and I have a fundamental disagreement about how wet that area is.
Okay.
I hunt in there, for turkey and the like, and yes, there are many places where it's pretty wet.
Mhm.
But if you follow from behind our clubhouse and head north on the old trolley line berm,
Yeah.
then you can go a long way in there before you can cut up and, you don't have to go a long way in there before you can cut up and get into the eastern, into the property.
Yeah. Okay.
And what we need is somebody to say, yeah, okay, let's do that. I thought that we had a deal last fall that we were gonna do an area and that the town was gonna pay for the surveying, and that was gonna be it.
Was this in autumn? Because I remember meeting in, I believe it was January of 2020. And that's when we had looked at before Unit 4.
This is before the quarantine.
Okay.
So it's earlier than that.
So Mr. Pulis, you're saying go to the west of the clubhouse? Back out this way. Yeah, good, that's good. Go to the west of the clubhouse and go on the trolley track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And go north.
And
Then we can go east.
then you can, that's right, then you can cut up.
I agree.
Jason.
Mr. Chair, so currently, the way I see it is currently right now, we have an easement through there that gives us excellent access into that property
Mhm.
over no wetlands.
Yeah.
If these guys want to swap that easement out, I would expect that we would still have, at no cost to the Conservation Commission, excellent access to that property.
Mhm.
So to me, it's not our responsibility to swap this out because it's our easement.
Mhm.
To me, I would like to see them come up with a proposal and say, you guys get together on your end, come here with a solid proposal that we can look at in front of us that says, yes, we're going to put an easement in near the clubhouse and we can get access into that property and we don't have to go through any wetlands. I personally do not want access onto that property just to hit a big wet area and we really can't get into it. We might need to.
Why do you have to get into it?
We might need to get emergency access in there.
For
Who
what?
knows? There could be a
For
hunter
what?
that's.
Hold on.
For what?
Please allow
Sir,
him to
we
finish
have
speaking.
access to it right now. It is our easement. All right, we have
You're
access
going
to it
through
right now.
our property.
But we have an easement. It's a legal document. A legal document. That easement exists. If we want to change that easement out, I think that you guys just come up with a plan. I think we're willing to talk about it, but come up with a plan that allows us access onto that property in a way in which we are.
You have plenty of access onto that property. You can access it through the middle school, right through the parking lot of the middle school, and you have parking and everything, and you can access that land. You don't even need that access.
But it would be restricted because we can't use that parking lot during school hours. So it'll be limited to
Our
weekends.
property is private.
Yeah, you can't
Yes.
put it on our property.
Per the
That's
mandate of the
easement.
town.
The
Easement.
easement does permit access through that property.
I understand that. But it doesn't give you access to walk on our private roads.
I
And
think
that's-
it does. It says ingress and egress on the easement.
So you can walk up it,
No
but you can't
vehicular.
drive up it. So you can park prior
Out.
to the property and then walk up the street. to the
Apparently,
easement.
when that property started, it was mandated that had to be a private road. So if it's a private road, you really don't have access.
I think in the easement, it does. I don't have the easement in front of me, but.
I know what the
think
easement says,
says
but
Pedestrian access, egress and
so that means you're responsible. Are you responsible for the road? Wait a minute.
It
You
said
said you
pedestrian
have an
access.
easement on that road. Are you responsible for that road?
No, it says pedestrian, like I said, I don't have it in front of me, the deed.
No, but there is. I do recall that there is a contingent of liability for anything that occurs on that road for damage for people that are accessing it. I believe that's what I recall seeing. by accessing that road. Marion, you had something?
We have legal ability on the easement.
Mhm.
Their road is a private road, which means the town is responsible plowing in the snow time, things like that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure how it works as far as emergencies. Do emergency apparatus consider it a public road that they have to have access to?
Fire, you mean like the fire trucks can come into it, Marion, and the ambulances do things that the town provides to them?
Yeah, the easement allows us to go on to our property.
Cross
with
that
a
line.
specific ability to check it out, make sure there isn't something illegal going on in there. Go ahead.
This is why though we haven't fixed it, Vinny, is because you're still denying that it's an easement. We're still saying it is, and we're right where we started
Jason,
back in 2002, right?
so we can see the middle.
So the easement's valid. The Attorney General's told you twice it's valid in two separate letters, responding to two separate letters of yours.
There's a
So
potential,
where is your next step going to be then?
there's a potential legal issue also. which
Do you
we-
have a lawyer to talk to us about that?
No,
legal
not yet.
issue?
Not until I talk to a lawyer.
The answer is no.
Okay, Joan?
As you can see where the middle school is, to get to the property north of Stage Crossing, you can't get there. Would have to cross Stage Crossing or swim across the wetland to get over into our parcel. When the power lines go right through there, in the winter, you can get through the power lines when it's frozen. The minute it gets above 32 degrees, you can't get through there. So there really isn't access from the middle school.
Yeah, we walk a dog.
If you cross your property.
Yeah, look, crossing our property isn't the issue here.
No, I mean, he's saying go from the middle school to get to our property, but then we'd still have to go across your property to get there, to get to.
I don't think so.
But that doesn't change the fact that the Attorney General says that we are responsible for that easement.
Right.
We are responsible for that easement. We need to maintain it and we need to mark it.
Diane,
Mark
I don't
it?
think Anybody.
Yes,
Now,
Why are you
absolutely.
gonna mark it?
We're going to mark it so that we don't have people wandering. That was one of your complaints. You were worried about people wandering around. Well, it's not marked as to where it is because we've never come to an agreement with you people on the
And how,
fact that
and how do
it's,
you intend on marking it?
we'll grade it and put it through, I guess. I don't know what we'd do.
We'd
But
have
we're
to
going to have to decide to mark it that it's an easement.
we'd have to determine which ways would be proper to market, but I do believe signage was permitted.
Yep.
In clearing it so that it's making sure it's clearly marked.
So you're gonna come up and put signage in the middle of our property stating that there's an easement there.
Yep.
Is that what
Potentially,
you're telling me?
Yep.
potentially, yeah.
We have the responsibility that we have to do it.
Hold on, I saw Marion's hand and then Joan's hand.
I don't think we're gonna put signage on your property. We would probably put the signage right at the edge of the easement, noting that this is where the easement is and that it's a private property. Your property is private,
With an easement on top of it.
right?
Could I address
Yes.
question, issue? I think Jason's comment is the best one so far, that they need to present something to us. We have an easement now to get there. We need if we're gonna swap, we need an easement to get there without crossing wetlands. I think that's the end of the discussion for me. That's,
Any comments?
Let's go back and do it. But here's one thing that I would appreciate that this committee keeps in mind. In the past, when we've talked about rerouting this easement, we have met with almost immediately, you can't go that way because it's wet. Now, again, I know that we can get access into that property from behind either our clubhouse or the library. The town owns the land. If you face the library, the town owns the land to the immediate left of the library. There's got to be a way that you can get from there up 150 yards to, which is the only area that would be wet. to get up to the hill that's is the beginning of your property, of the conservation lands property.
Yeah, well, let's.
Diane?
I agree with John. We probably can do that, but it
That's
may
wetland.
entail putting some small, when I was up north, I was hiking up on Diana's Baths and I saw some really nice looking small bridges that were easily constructed. They weren't $1 million. We might have to put some of those up, but that would be a plan that you guys would come up with, probably with somebody from here going with you to walk it and decide where those areas would have to be crossed.
Well, I think that they need to stake.
That
where
works,
they- where
that
they
works
wanna go.
probably, John. I can see that that would work.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I think if you come up with a plan, it needs to be staked out and then we'll all walk in and see if it's doable. And we also were on a 2-year drought, so, or more, so let's not forget that it may be wetter in the spring than it is now.
Yeah, we'd have to accommodate that.
Right.
It is wet back there. That land's not officially designated as wetlands.
I'll do that to the scientists. I'm not a wetland scientist, so I'm not gonna.
But can we make a motion that they come back with a plan that is staked out, including areas that you think we might need these small footbridges to cross over, John?
Yeah.
And then we can come and visit you there?
Well, we'll have to meet.
Because then it has to go to the Attorney General. They're gonna decide whether or not we can make this swap.
Oh, yeah, they're not gonna say no. But we can
We
have.
don't know.
We need to have our own discussion. One of the things we vowed was that we were not gonna come here and make a deal. Because it's still just too murky. So it is my belief that we can do what you suggest. But Vinnie, we can't commit tonight, right?
Right.
So go home and go back and
That's fine.
come up with that plan.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in tonight.
So
The land.
Matt, is that,
No, the library, right?
Did you make a motion? Was that a motion?
I make a motion that Stage Crossing leaves and comes back with the plan.
So like a request?
It's a request.
Yeah, so I had a motion,
Is it a motion? Yeah,
the motion to request that Stage Crossing.
return. Do we have a second? What?
Can we make a motion for them to do something for us? I think-
No, we can't.
no,
We
no,
can't.
Requesting, but
can't.
since they've already,
Yeah,
And
we
they're
can't-
already gone, but they
It's a
said they're gonna
request.
do
I
it.
wouldn't make
So,
okay.
The motion would be to have Matt send them a letter saying, give us a proposal for
And look at other options
Okay.
other than that location.
that.
We can probably help there.
Have a plan B just in case.
John
got
knows
it.
what he's doing. I think John's got it.
I got an idea.
And we'll move forward.
I agree with you.
I can
Alright.
see 3 locations here.
So do we want to make a motion for Matt to send a letter?
No.
If you'd like,
Send it out for us to proofread.
I can draft up a letter and then we can
All right.
send it out.
I don't
that
think we
way.
need a motion for that.
Okay.
I'll just say that
No.
you're going to do it. Matt will send letter
Stage Crossing.
outlining our discussion with them.
Yes.
Okay. Clearly saying what they'll do next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Marion?
LaMontagne would do anything to get something approved.
No, it was stability. There's 2 runoff pools. There could be a road
Right.
between it.
It's all about,
Working
What? We can't hear you.
12, 13 years. And just so roll over and not get anything out of it. You agree with me?
I do. At no cost to us. Right.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on.
I don't know if the Attorney General will even let us do that.
and if we find a better option, he will.
All right. Should probably let people know they can come back in the room. No, I'm gonna go.
I got it.
I'm gonna go grab
I got it, Matt.
Who's the next one?
Well, the public hearing is
So
first.
I think we moved the appointment of a secretary.
Oh,
Okay, I'll step out of the room.
no, it's appointment of secretary. Wait, appointment of secretary.
I
You're moving that up.
Who's next?
So next would be the public hearing. However, I have moved to the top of the list that we're going to appoint a secretary. We have a vacancy.
All right, hold on, let me just look at the agenda.
Could you say we gotta vote for you?
Huh?
Next up is the public hearing after we appoint a new secretary.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Do you need an agenda? Marion, do you need an agenda?
I make a motion.
I have them here, I just gotta locate it.
That's okay.
I know the feeling. Pass that down.
Okay, onward.
Harry, you wanna make it? Matt, need a motion?
Yes?
I make a motion that we make Diane the secretary. She likes to write.
All right.
second it.
I have a motion. I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
You voting against it?
6. All those opposed?
You-
Abstain? Diane, did you vote at all?
No.
Oh, you're
Help
gonna
you, Diane.
you're gonna abstain.
Are we sure nobody else wants to be the secretary? Jay?
I take take on a lot of other things.
Me too.
You do.
I
I
know.
agree with that.
Motion already passed. You're stuck. Congratulations.
All right, so this will be my second consecutive term though, and I don't think I can serve a third without, so somebody else has to decide they're gonna be
Haven't been
secretary next
consecutive.
time. Huh?
It hasn't been consecutive. Andrew,
Oh, so Andrew will be here for a month.
Andrew, yeah,
I'm gonna
technically.
leave the room because it's not me this time.
Okay,
All right, so it passed 6-0, one
One.
abstained.
Sorry,
Yep.
Diane.
okay.
You're killing me, people.
Next up on the agenda, public hearing, land acquisition, 314 Charles Bancroft Highway, tax map 15, lot 7-1.
Need the map.
So, this is a public hearing, regarding this purchase of this property. It is approximately 2.73 acres of land. It is adjacent to, it has a boundary with another property that we hold. Tax map 15, lot 22, just to the south of it. Is there any questions or input from the commission, members of the
And
commission?
it fronts
Yeah,
on
where
Charles
is it?
Bancroft.
Oh, and it fronts on Charles Bancroft Highway.
That one.
You highlight it.
That one, yeah.
Diane, do people know that they can come in the room for the public hearing?
She's not here. Marion is not here, but she has signed the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay,
But is there
Did-
any public
did
for
you know
this?
I can ask.
yeah.
So
It's the blue highlighted one.
Is there anybody here that is,
that little,
right there.
guess I can go down tonight, right here.
Yep. And this is the river access right there.
Here you go.
You're not here for that, right? You're not here for that. Okay, thank you.
But isn't-
There is no one here to speak on this issue,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
See if I mention the purchase.
The purchase and sale agreement has been signed at this point by the selectmen, the conservation chair.
Yep.
And the person selling, and the deed has been approved.
Okay. The purchase sale is $110,000. Not sure if anyone.
Has it been,
So
was a title
what do
search
we-
involved?
We're waiting for that.
Okay.
Jason, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, I just want to thank Diane for all the footwork and getting this done.
Yeah. Well said.
Yep.
Good job, Diane.
We're happy for the town. No objection, Mr. Chair.
I think it's actually legwork. I said footwork. That's basketball.
Well, there was one creek that had a little fancy footwork, wasn't there, Joan?
Hmm?
Wasn't there one creek that had a little fancy footwork?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Diane helped me across the creek.
I didn't drop her in it. Okay, so
Got a question.
Yeah.
How could this all go through with us not agreeing to it?
you did.
We
Yeah.
did.
You weren't here.
Ah,
Oh, that was
You
when
left
you
early that
left
night.
early.
Ah,
that night.
okay.
All done in non-public
See,
after.
you shouldn't have
Okay.
left, Joan.
And
You
it
gotta
went
stick
to the
around.
selectmen.
Big things happen when you leave for 5
you
minutes.
bet.
Do we need a motion?
No, because we already motioned it.
Yep.
We did
Alright.
motion to do this, do it.
Wasn't sure if we needed anything
pub-
else.
Public hearing for input from the public or any objections or
And
purchase and sales is signed.
if there's no further input from members of the commission or the public, I will close this public hearing. I don't know if I need a motion to do that or.
No,
Mr. Chair, one last statement.
Yep.
I think also what was written into the purchase and sales agreement is that we have the right of first refusal
Right, yes.
on the big piece behind it.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and
That one
select
right
that?
there.
Yeah, okay.
See what I missed?
Yep.
You were actually here for the vote, though, that was public, right? Didn't we have a public vote as well?
no, because we're talking about land purchase.
Oh, okay. All right.
Was he present for the signing of the purchase and sale agreement?
Yeah.
I think you were giving me permission to sign the
Oh,
purchase
giving
and
you
sale
permission,
agreement.
yeah.
I think you were there for that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the agenda is all over the place.
Close, you can close the public
Yep.
hearing.
So the public hearing is now closed. Sorry, my first public hearing. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more, but we'll see. Next up, Barron's Warehouse Special Exception.
Okay.
They're right there.
Well,
Yep,
yeah,
you're good.
everybody
Sorry.
wants to talk about Darren's Warehouse. Sue, I think it's here as well.
This is where you talk about,
Okay.
this is where you tell them, talking about wetlands. and stuff.
Oh,
That's-
nice,
that's the
good.
input to the
And are you gonna
ZBA.
behave now?
You have to write a letter to the ZBA.
Okay.
So
No. Absolutely not.
I know you.
All right.
So-
at 7.
Write that down.
if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
All right. Do I need to push this?
Yeah, actually before we get started, I just want to let everyone know since our site walk last week, there was kind of a lot of discussion, a lot of good questions, but for the sake of this evening, we are giving input on whether or not to recommend to the ZBA to pursue the special exception. So just want to make sure let's keep our
Wetlands-
discussion,
Wetlands
or the
special.
wetland special exception to make sure we keep our discussion relevant to that. But floor is all yours, gentlemen.
My name is John Davey. I am an engineer from Western O'Neill.
John, can you spell your last name, please?
You push that, it gets the microphone.
Oh,
It's the opposite of what you're trying to do.
wow.
Perfect.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay. I'll speak again. My name is Jonathan Havey. I work for Fuss and O'Neill as an engineer. Last name is Havey.
Okay. And the name of the company is?
Fuss and O'Neill, FUSS, and O'Neill, ONEILL.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'm Luke Hurley, Gove Environmental Services, the wetland, soil, and wildlife biologist on the project.
Do you have business cards by any chance?
I do not.
I have some in my car.
No, no
Potentially.
worries. No worries.
We have 11 by 17s. I see some still have some from the site walk. Does anybody want a copy? I don't know if you have the latest and greatest, but if so, I can pass them out. I can pass them around.
Yep. And we have a couple copies over here.
I left mine in the truck.
I can pass out.
Did I sit next to her?
I know.
All right.
Afraid. Be
So you're good.
afraid.
Please. May I have one more? Left my copy in the
No, that's
truck,
okay.
too.
That's what we
Might be a
got.
little close to
John,
the house.
you need
Yes, please.
Right.
I feel like I'm behind the desk.
You've got extras, right?
Behind the counter, yeah.
Good, 'cause I feel safer.
Well, how do you answer that?
I don't.
If everybody has one, anybody, and then public, if they have extras.
John,
Be glad to give it to
John,
on the board, but that's
what's
kinda
the
hard to
name
see.
of the company he works for?
Work for Gove Environmental Services.
Spell that.
GOVE.
Gove Environmental Services?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the AC just kicked on.
Nice.
So the project we have before you is a proposed development of a 132,000 square foot distribution facility for Barron's Major Brands. If I can swap it. It is largely rectangular. We propose some associated parking, some surface parking around the building, as well as a couple access points throughout the property. It's actually two properties, two parcels that will be combined as a part of the development process. Nothing tremendously fancy about the building, just a big box. But the primary reason why we are here is, as you can see by the plans, we have a wetland impact on the south side of the building. It is approximately 29,340 square feet. And then there's an associated buffer impact with that as well. Those are the reasons why we are presenting a special exception to the zoning board. On top of that, we are aware that we have some mitigation requirements that are going to be required as a result of the development of this project. But I'll let Luke handle that in a little bit. I'll go a little bit more in depth about the building. Probably going to be about between 24 and 28 feet tall. It's going to be set back 77 feet from the closest property line, but to the closest houses, it's well over 100 to 150 feet and even farther away from the Charles Bancroft Highway. Circulation wise, we'll be seeing some large vehicles entering on the south exit or the south driveway, and then all the vehicles will be exiting on the north driveway up by St. Francis. We are proposing, as well as the building, some significant drainage infrastructure to handle all the stormwater that comes from any proposed impervious space. And we're also proposing some visual barriers to ensure that abutters don't have direct line of sight to the facility or the parking lots and whatnot. I think that pretty much covers it for building development. Before we hand it off to Luke to talk about some mitigation, which I'm sure you guys probably have questions on. Do you have any questions on the building development itself?
What type of proposal do you have to prevent it from being seen from the abutters' properties? I mean, are they fairly short trees or bushes you're putting in,
So,
or leaving in the existing taller trees?
so we're going to do our best to leave in as many taller trees between, and I'll actually zoom in on the screen here so you guys can see it. And when I think about it, I have an aerial photo that probably would be a little bit better. So, the area that was, there's the zoom. Come on. The area in question that will be remaining naturalized is as much of this possible between the building and the property line in the back. But on top of that, we also intend on installing where visual barriers aren't already existing. We aren't going to take out any sort of visual barriers to install our own. We obviously don't want to impact any more than we need to. But the intended barrier that we propose is going to be a berm with a fence and then vegetation in front of that as well. So there will be predominantly visual barriers created by vegetation and then backed up by a fence and then a dirt berm. We have also proposed, I'll let you know that we have proposed, or not proposed, but included in our special exception application, some lines of sight from the houses, and the top of the building itself is about the same height as kind of the platform that all the houses sit on. So the visual berm only adds to that lack of visibility between the houses and the facility. The berm should be about 5 feet tall, and the fence would be a standard 6-foot fence.
The fencing on the, you said the right of way, that's for, all right, who's putting in that fencing to, are you guys gonna put that fencing in?
Yes, yeah. So anywhere where there isn't fencing or artificial, or not artificial, existing visual barriers, we're going to put in some fencing just to.
Do you know what type of fencing?
I don't know what type of fencing yet, but it will likely be something that you can't see through. I'm not going to propose a chain link fence. That would almost defeat the purpose of having the fencing there.
Diane.
I think our meeting is supposed to be about the wetland impact. Is it?
Correct. It's about the wetland special exception.
Right.
Sorry,
So
I'm
we
veering
kinda
off
have
track.
to get back into
Yep.
that topic, am I correct?
Yes.
I did ask
That's okay.
questions about the rest of the facility. Sorry about that.
That's okay, it's just,
Um,
it's a lot to cover.
It's a long meeting and there's a lot of people here. Sorry about that.
That's okay, it's interesting, but it's just planning board, I think.
Okay.
Her question about the visual barrier though, we don't intend on removing trees, so I would assume has some conservation commission.
Got a question again.
Sure.
All right, the map I'm looking at, and
Yes.
maybe you can explain this to me. I see, no, I guess on the
Page are you
south
on?
side of the building, there's a thing called wetland limits. Then there's wetland buffets,
Yes.
buffers.
He's on
On the-
page 3.
Back of the building, I see buffers and then I see limits. Now, I can see where the 29,000 square feet is actually wet, but what does those things mean? Does that mean that wetlands extends out to that?
I believe so. The zoning requirements, I believe it's zoning, has a buffer because obviously the wetland kind of actually. Luke, you probably have a better idea of how to explain it.
Yeah, as long as I understand your question correctly, what I think you're asking for is the difference between the callouts of the wetland limit and the buffer. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
because according to what I'm looking at,
Yep.
with just this
I can see it, yeah.
document.
Yep.
It looks like the wetlands limit extends past your 29,000.
Correct. On the south side of that, so closer to the, I think it's a spooky world. No, it's not, but whatever it is. On the south side, yeah, the blue area is the buffer. The red area is the wetland. You're correct. That wetland does extend down to the bottom of that page where he has his
Right
pen.
there, yeah.
Perfect, yep. So there is a portion of wetland that is, I don't want to say not being impacted, but it's beyond the limit of the project. So yeah, there is that little red finger, but that red area on that plan, which is the plan you're looking at, sir, in front of you, that red area is the wetland itself, that kind of jagged edge one. And then
Okay.
that blue area around it is that 50-foot buffer.
The 29,000 square feet includes that blue area?
No, the blue area is just the buffer. So the red area itself is at 29,342
Mhm.
square foot. So I think the proposal is for the whole, that entire wetland. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
It is, yes.
But that whole red area is the entire wetland, and that entire wetland is being proposed to be impacted.
Joan, go ahead.
Okay, so Harry, in our zoning ordinance, we have a 50-foot buffer around wetlands. So when they impact the buffer, they have to also go for a special exception
Mhm.
for impact to the wetland and impact to the buffer. So that's what they're doing.
One special exception takes both.
Right, special exception addresses both.
Diane.
So when we walked down there,
Mhm.
there was Charlie McQuestion is farming currently. Is he farming wetland?
No.
Because you basically, when we
No,
were talking, you kind of said the
no,
building was gonna go
No.
pretty much right on that field.
No, he's not.
Do that again, flip the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Right
Should I
there.
include- I apologize. I should have put color on there. It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah.
That's okay. Do you have the
I see
building layout one?
Okay, so,
That's the one you want to see. Yeah. So can I go up there?
all right, so there's the field he's farming. Okay, I see it. And then there was an area, the ticks were so bad that day.
Yes, but you're right. See, I'm used to doing it this way.
Okay,
He's right on the edge.
But so yes, this is the edge of the field comes down through this. You can see it. So if you
Okay.
connect my finger from here to here,
okay.
that's the farm field is this side. So no, the wetland is all. Remember we walked in it. You and I certainly did.
We did,
And
just,
we were
just
looking
not
right
all
at
the
the
way
edge of
through
it.
it,
We were right
right?
at the lower point. I think you.
I was right behind
Yes,
you.
you were right there.
Right next to the cat nine
Yeah,
tails.
yes, we were standing
Right,
right here
right,
looking in. We didn't go into it, but so yeah, he's not farming wetlands.
Okay,
So this is the shrub line on this side, which is the abandoned farm fields. It just kind of went fallow. They're getting shrubby and grassy and stuff now.
okay.
So no, he is farming his farmland, and we're proposing our project with just the wetland. The wetlands didn't extend into the farmland. They didn't meet the criteria.
Okay, I was just curious.
No, it's a better representation on this because you can see it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I have a question.
Joan. Go ahead.
So Luke, what functional values would you give that wetland that in the red area?
And what's a functional value?
Okay, there's like,
I wouldn't give it a lot. Functions and values, the functions and values of a wetland are what functions does it provide, what value does it have. It's not something, We were talking about it on the way up. We had lots of conversations.
But
amongst all
not
of us as we
everybody
were
who's
walking.
here
But
had
we were
that.
talking about the functions and values assessments of the wetlands that will have to be done as part of the wetland application. Sorry, I'm standing behind you. But as part of the wetland application, we have to address the functions and values that are being lost of the wetland as part of the impact to it. I haven't done the full assessment on it, but being out there and flagging it, where it is on the slope, it doesn't have, water, groundwater is a little bit higher in this area, only because that's just where it is. It's kind of a low spot, but it's also on the hillside. So there's 13 criteria. I'm not going to go through them all now and bore you. When we come in with the application, we'll go through them. But I would say what it might have the most, I don't even know. I mean, it's hard to say. There's maybe some sort of flood flow, which is just the water holding capacity, which wetlands have. So when it rains a lot, it's going to hold a little bit of water before it sends it down. And we saw that, as I had said, when I had done the flagging originally, this field was 4 feet tall of winter ride. And then when we were at the site walk, it was all gone and it was beans. And we saw that area where it was eroding down here, and that was just natural runoff from the site. It wasn't caused by human disturbance or anything.
Correct.
It wasn't a stream. It doesn't qualify as wetland. But that's one of the things that it does here. It holds water for a little bit because the soils they have that holding capacity versus the silt and stuff that's naturally here from the river. But it holds a little bit of water. It doesn't have permanent standing water, so it doesn't have aquatic organism habitat. Some birds may nest in some of the shrubs and stuff that are there, but no different than anything over here. As I say, I won't go through the whole thing, but typically what we look at are sediment and toxicant retention, flood flow attenuation, nutrient attenuation. But since the houses are far enough away, even if they had the world's largest amounts of fertilizer going into here, there's enough area in between that any runoff would catch it. But that's usually what wetlands do. They're in the low spot. When we see them in an urban area, we say, okay, well, there's a lot of stormwater that comes to it. They hold that. The plants can actually take up those nutrients and those pollutants and kind of clean up the water. But because of, it is over half an acre, but its relative size and location as to where it is, the functions and values aren't high. If this was, if this was like this field and they were still farming it, it wouldn't even be a wetland because it wouldn't have the 3 criteria that it needs to be a wetland. But since it's been left, the wetland plants and stuff are starting to come in now. If this was a natural area that had been here for 1,000 years, it would be soggier. There'd be more wetland plants. You might have some higher functions and values. But since this is probably just all historic old farm, it's slowly reverting back to wetland. I don't know when this farming was discontinued. Maybe some of the abutters would know, but it doesn't really have a lot of functions and values to it. It's kind of a long way around it. But once we get to the application part of it and we submit it, you'll see it. We go down through. Then it falls back to the Army Corps of Engineers. They come up with a criteria. I don't have a feeling one way or another as to whether I think it has it. I go through the criteria and it's either yes or no. We had talked about this. It's either yes or no, it has it. There's no speculation as to I don't think it has it, but John might. It's not one of those things. So overall, I'd say the functions and values of it are relatively well.
On the drainage, going back to the engineering, there's a crossover on Route 38. It comes down around there.
Mhm.
Okay, and it goes down to that's why you're getting the pocketing in there. Okay, from street drainage. That's about it. Okay. And that's been there for years. As for that field back there, I just talking to the farmer today on it. He said there used to be a good field till we had Tuckahoe turf, and they stripped the loam off. Okay, over the years.
Of that upper part?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I believe it.
and that's why you got so much sand.
There's no There's no topsoil up there.
There's no topsoil on that piece, but lucky it still grows.
Is
Yeah.
this the land below there that we were talking about?
No, this piece is right. Yeah,
Oh, the one
Yeah.
he's on right
yeah,
now?
right here.
Yeah, but
That area, it has very little topsoil on it. Except for the lower part down in here maybe, but that's about it.
Yep, I agree.
The drainage is going to come across the street into that area. It's going to be picked up, and your drainage calcs will handle that. I understand that. Technically, we used to plow it, okay, and there used to be a little furrows back there, and that was one area we used to get stuck. Okay,
And that's
especially-
what?
And in the springtime, but we haven't had that problem too much since an operation across the street with the quarry and everything. The groundwater has changed a little bit out there. Okay, so it's been drier than many years, but it's been stripped so much of its loam, it doesn't have its agricultural side to it as much.
Great.
Okay, that's what I know about the history of that site.
And I agree. It makes sense because when I was out there, with my auger digging holes, there is no topsoil out there. It goes right into what we call the B layer, which is just a lighter, sandier color that you can see when you're out there. You can even see it from some of the aerials. It's just light.
Your A horizon's shot.
Gone.
Your B
Yep.
horizon's there, and you hit C, that's healthy sand.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Luann has a question.
I wasn't able to do the site walk on this. With most of the base being sand, the building structure, any foundation sand, any buildup that you need to do, and then all the pavement, is there going to be any issue with runoff into the wetlands to the west?
Absolutely not. We're going to do everything we can to ensure that the flow of stormwater from above the property, through the property, below the property is as mimicked naturally as possible. We're going to use level spreaders. We're going to use state developed BMPs to make sure that our impacts to the wetland below don't exist.
Yeah, and if you look at, I don't know what sheet it is.
Is it that one?
Yeah, I like the aerial one.
Yeah.
That's prettier. But if you look at that, it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, where the hand is on the screen, those are, and I'm not taking the engineering away from John. He can get into that. But those are the stormwater basins where the water is going to be directed to on either side. So it can't just, he'll tell you that the post runoff has to actually be less than the pre. So they can't have any more water leaving the facility after that is developed than what's currently out there. So no, nothing is going to run downhill willy-nilly. It's all going to be collected in those stormwater features in there. So yes, I see what you're saying, because that wetland area to the rear of the proposed building and everything, which is on the west side, that's not going to get impacted at all. There'll be no more, no less water from this going there. And that's part of the alteration of terrain process. They have to follow those guidelines.
Jason,
Right?
It's definitely right. Yeah.
So because you're potentially impacting 29,000 square feet of wetlands, that has to be mitigated at a 10-to-1.
Well, it has to be mitigated, and we can get into that discussion because it's certainly appropriate. There's different factors for it as to what we're doing. It does have to be mitigated for the loss of that 29,000 square feet. There's different scenarios that we go through as part of the alternatives analysis for it. When we get into mitigation, there are four aspects. There's restoration or recreation on site. We don't typically do that anymore because it doesn't always work, especially here with the sandy soils. It would be tough to get stuff to really grow. There is direct preservation, which is actually, there's restoration is one, recreation on site is two. Or somewhere else in town, if there's a messy wetland that's full of junk or trash you wanted to clean up, restore it, then that could happen also. So there's restoration, recreation. There is land preservation. Let's back up, sorry. Restoration and recreation are 1.5 to 1, both of them. So it's 1.5 for your one. So if we had, let's say if we had 1 acre of impact, we'd have to have 1.5 acres restoration or recreation somewhere. Then we get into land preservation, which is 10 to 1, where here, let's say we're impacting 1/2 acre. So we'd need, anywhere from 5 to 6 acres.
6.5 acres.
Thank you. 6.5 acres.
The engineer in him.
That's why I use 1 acre because it's easier. But yes, so we need that 6.5 acres of land. 50% or more has to actually be upland, because what you're doing is protecting the wetland by having a larger buffer to it. A lot of times people will think, well, we need more wetland on it. But the way the state looks at it is it's a 10 to 1 ratio. 50% or more has to be upland to the wetland. Typically, when we do that, there has to be a similar wetland on site for this preservation land. So if you have a piece of land, it's kind of hard to find an old abandoned farm field with a marginal wetland on it. But we would look for something that's either wet meadow or shrub vegetated wetland, similar to it, on a piece of land that's 6.5 acres. So there is that. And then the requirement of the state is that we go through those alternatives analysis to say, can any of those work? As I say, the first two we really just don't do anymore. And then if for some reason none of those work, then there's the in lieu fee program into the ARM fund, where we pay whatever the price is based on the fee calculator sheet they have, and whatever that is, 160, 170, it's 160, 170,000 would be the fee assessed based on the size of the impacts the type of the wetland in the town that it's in. There's a whole worksheet that goes into it. It's an Excel program that you just type in the number and they take the number off for the town cost, and that's what it comes out with. So there's those options. So what we usually do is the land preservation, which we can discuss tonight if you folks would like. And if for some reason that doesn't work out, then we go back to the state and say, we've talked to the town, we've had a couple meetings, we've had some site walks, we've discussed a couple projects. Don't seem like they're going to work for whatever reasons. We can talk about the reasons that it may or may not. If it doesn't work out, then we say we would like to proceed doing the ARM fund payment. And then that money goes into the state, to the state bank account, and that gets allocated through the Aquatic Resources Management Fund to the watershed. So you folks would have to apply for a grant to get that money. You may get it, you may not. It would go to the Lower Merrimack River Watershed Association. So whoever else is in it, Nashville might get it. I can't even think of who else is around. Maybe Manchester. I don't know. Merrimack. I'm sorry. Yep. So
Follow up after your.
yep. That's how it works. So that's where we are with the mitigation aspect. We've got to go through those different facets.
But
Two-
this looks
two-part
easy.
question.
Hold on a sec, Jason. Had a
This
question.
looks
Just a-
easy though, because we do have wetlands on there, right? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I thought
I'm
you were
sorry,
pointing at me.
Jason raised his hand
Oh,
first.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I thought you
A
were pointing
follow
You
up
can
to
go
that.
up
Go
after.
ahead.
That one.
What strategies can we, assuming that this ends up going through,
Mhm.
what strategies can we use to make sure that the mitigation activities stay within Litchfield?
The only way to, I hate to say guarantee, but the only way to really guarantee that would happen, that the mitigation effort stays in town, is if we do land preservation. And that is depending on what you have in town. If you have a site that is magically meets all the parameters and it's only $170,000, one of a couple of things can happen. Is either the applicant, which isn't very common, could buy the land and then donate it to the town. More often than not, what has happened in projects that I've worked on is that check is written to the town for the express purchase of lot tax map A, lot 1 for mitigation for this project. So that's the surefire way to get the money to stay in the project in town, is to do land preservation.
So, excuse me, before we continue, the matter before us currently is that special exception, and I'm more than welcome to discuss those options. I believe we might have to go into non-public to discuss certain, or not the aspect. No, I'm sorry, I'm conflating two different things, but just so that we're not kind of creating a bias or prior to making our decision for the special exception.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
It looks like we have wetlands that are already further back towards the river on the land that you
Correct.
currently hold. Is that land that, rather than buying another piece, is that land that you would?
There is the potential for that to happen. There's many occasions where I've done projects where we've done on-site land preservation, where we say, look, instead of trying to do something down here later on, like another warehouse, or something that's similar to here, because there is that open grass area where maybe something could go in. It comes back to the state discussion, because the state unfortunately makes the final decision as to what are you going to do for mitigation? Is it going to work? Obviously, with a lot of input from the town, what does the town say? Do they have land? That kind of stuff. That is an option that falls into the land preservation aspect, as long as we have that mitigation ratio of 6.5 to 1, 6.5 acres, sorry, to the half acre plus or minus that we're impacting. There is the potential to do it on site.
Yeah, 'cause
But
there's a
that's
lot
just
of
something
land
we
out
would have
there
to
you don't
discuss. Yep.
necessarily need.
And that would just get deeded, and it'd be, I'm not even going to make up the legal terms, but deed restriction and whatever else on it.
Joan.
Okay, before I go any further with that idea, I'd like to make a motion that the Conservation Commission sends a letter to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, which they're meeting July 19th, to say that we are in favor of impacting the low functioning wetland that we have on this site. We're not opposed to this project.
I'll second that.
Right, I have a motion and I have a second. Do I have any further discussion?
Do we need to have public input on this?
That's next.
That
Um,
comes,
On the special exception, we're voting the
Oh, wait.
ZBA asked for our opinion,
Oh, wait.
by zoning, asks for our opinion on a special exception, so.
I think before we vote on it, there is the public here. That's in a butter. We ought to hear what she has to say too.
Okay.
Okay, so we can include public input in part of the discussion because we have a motion on the floor. Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this
On
item?
the wetlands
On the
special exception.
special exceptions? Wetland special exception.
Okay?
Yep.
I'm good.
Anyone? No? Okay. Then,
I'll buy you a drink.
And can I just ask them, your reason for saying yes, we should is,
Because we walked the site. I believe it's a low, along with Luke, that it's a low functioning of the 13 wetland functions, that it's a low functioning wetland. In the 1992 Google Maps that they showed us, I think the engineer that was here then had Brett from Fuss and O'Neill could show us the prior Google Maps. That was a farm field before that. So it's been disturbed. And like Luke said, if it had been left alone for eons, maybe it would be a high value wetland, but it's not.
okay,
It's not really.
thank you.
Kevin, historically, you've been around a while.
So I'm blessed.
Yeah. Do you feel, in your opinion, that wetland was probably formed because of farming, or was it something that was natural?
It was formed by the plowing in that area because we worked around it because it was the spring coming through. That spring is gone. Okay, what's going through now is drainage from the road coming into that area. And the ground does a little bit of this and that. You can see it in the contours, but it's a very small area when you stop and think about it.
Are we sure the spring
Okay.
is gone?
I mean,
Are we sure the spring is gone?
I'm sure. Because when I went back out there to play with the ticks the next day, okay,
They missed you.
okay, yeah, and I walked around the wetland in there, and talking to and knowing what was there before, that was all plowed ground. But when they started stripping it, okay, with Tuckahoe, pockets showed up here and there. The same piece that you guys bought on Route 3A, that just south of me. You notice that the ground there, you got sandy knobs that are occurring, and that's what happened. That used to be all loam until they started doing the turf growing here, and that's what's happening up here. And it's right on the edge, and it'll go right through the side of that. It's not a significant pocket of water. It's very, matter of fact, it's not even deep. The whole thing is just a little pocket.
Okay, thank you.
if there
My
is,
soil specialist and me.
if there is no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those opposed? 1. Those abstaining? 1. Motion passes 5-1-1. All right. We'll send a letter to the ZBA prior to their July 19th meeting.
Now, do you want to talk about the mitigation or?
Yeah, I suppose we can. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't kind of like introducing that prior to making the vote,
That makes sense.
just so that we weren't like
Buying it.
potentially influencing. Yeah. Not saying that you guys are, but just didn't want to make sure we were.
We weren't influencing ourselves.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys want to discuss that, then please do.
Mitigation. We need to do it. What do you want to do? We've already had the discussion pretty much by doing
No,
all
I
that.
know you did.
So-
It's
you know,
right.
If you
So
want to go any
that's-
further,
Do you have any ideas?
hold on a second, Joan.
We had
You have
talked
ideas.
about two different projects back when Luke and Andy Pillman and Matt and I met. So there are two different ideas. The one project is a third party is involved and it's time sensitive. This project is time sensitive, and that third party project is going to take longer than we think is going to work. I talked to Andy Pillman today, so that evidently the Barons didn't care either way which project, so I'd be willing to. Andy said they, would be happy with talking about this project, this parcel.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the things that comes into play also is, besides the time sensitive nature of things, what the state likes to see, Lori Summer, the mitigation coordinator, is projects in the actual, I think whether it's the mitigation rules, or in the RSA, I think it states that these are projects that are in the works, that the town has already had discussions with the landowner is willing to sell. you're like 75% there. Some towns we've been to, and they say, well, we can start looking at some parcels. And we say, oh, it's not really how it works. But you folks have already had talks with that person, as we had talked about before, and we, talking
Yeah,
about
but
now.
we're not 75% there.
Yeah, if it's one of those things we're like, yeah, we might sell, we might not sell. Let's talk to our siblings in California, see what they want to do. I mean, we're not pushing this through, like we need to go now, but we're fairly far along in the process. I haven't started the wetland application or anything like that yet, but I'm sure in the next couple of weeks I'll probably get it started. Depending on what their time frame is to really get things out. But so that is one of the things that comes up is the time sensitive nature of it is, will that mitigation timeline work for the project? Because there's, not delays, but there's deadlines that the state has for this stuff to be carried forward as part of the permit conditions.
Just,
So
there's two things here, and I
Yeah.
like to say mitigation. Mitigation is for this, the lower part of the field is a great mitigation part in my mind, because it's connected to the conservation,
exactly.
okay? You can still maintain the field if you want, because that is a good field down there, once you plow once in a while, but I'm just saying that they'll add to it. As for the other parts of the project and everything else, I think gaining something here, it's on the river. Key point is on the river. Everybody loves the idea of going down, walking the river.
Yep.
Okay, and this,
Town does.
okay,
Town peoples do like that.
yep, so I'm thinking of the mitigation, let's look at what you got here and working into that, that's my feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And
It simplifies the whole thing,
For everybody.
and it gets what you need.
it does. And as you had mentioned, there are wetlands on that parcel, and that's,
Yep.
Yep, there is.
can't read it, but I don't know how many acres that is
Oh, it's
down
wet.
there. Is it?
It's very wet. Brian and I went
Several.
down there.
But there's the wetland in between the field that's being farmed right now. There's that wetland in that kind of shrubby area. Then there's the field, which isn't wet. And then it drops down through a couple of gullies down to the river. So you're right. By this piece actually does work. It'd be on-site preservation. The ratios would work. It is land that could be developed. The state will say, you can't do anything down there. So you're not really giving us anything, but they
They can be
could.
developed.
They could get another crossing to go down there.
Yep.
And, put another warehouse or something in there, even with additional wetland impacts. But you're right, because there is the old rail trail that comes down there. That is, when I was out there doing the field work and the surveys were out there, a couple of people were running by, some people were on bicycles.
That's the old
There,
trolley cars.
there is natural wildlife and human wildlife walking down there barefoot in the riverbed. I think we talked about it. I couldn't believe it. But there is a lot of natural wildlife tracks down along the edge of the river because I was flagging the bottom of the slope. As part of this whole project, I'm going to have to do the wildlife habitat assessment for fish and game anyway. And what they like to see and what we all like to see is corridors protected along the river, because that's where critters really like to go.
Yep.
Because it's whether they're mid slope, up slope, not usually down so much because predators look down and that's where they get them. But a lot of times, and here it's kind of terraced a little bit and then goes up to where the rail trail is. But the corridors along the rivers are significant for wildlife travel. It's always been widely known that that's the case. So we had talked about this internally, John, Brian, and Attorney Perlman and myself, and I said, that's actually perfect because you have that one continuity between the conservation land for you folks, but it's also wildlife friendly because it maintains that corridor coming down along the edge naturally where critters are going to try to walk anyway. So it is a good fit.
I think we did good.
And then just from the legal side of it, and I'm not going to claim any of it, but they'll do however it's done in some sort of deed restriction or deed it to the town or ease it, whatever the terms are, but that'll all be worked out to show that it is conservation land and it can't be.
Prior to
developed.
final approval, the plan will be all worked out.
Jason.
Mr. Chair, who owns the railroad right away?
That is owned by the
On the Morse Falls property, it's Colby Litchfield LLC.
we
And-
lease it.
Down below, south of there, I would imagine it's the same. Was that Colby Field to begin with?
Down below? Yes.
South of Morse Falls?
Yep.
Do we have an easement on that or?
We have a lease, we have a
St. Francis owns
lease
that.
on the trolley track.
Okay, for like 100 years or?
Yeah, I can't remember the years, but it's an ongoing lease.
And how much do we pay for it?
We don't.
We don't pay for them. No, we don't pay them.
All right, so it's like $1 lease.
It's perpetuatory. lease.
Perpetual lease.
That's what- So that looks kind of,
And so what we would have to do
Yes.
with this part of it is we still have to have a pre-application meeting with the state, with the Wetlands Bureau, because we have mitigation. And once we have mitigation, we're required to have a pre-application meeting with them. But this is good since we've already met with you folks and talked about it and we've seen it. I haven't seen back there, but we've seen the site and the proposed impacts. So when we set up the pre-application meeting with the state, first thing mitigation coordinator is going to say is, have you talked to the town? We're going to say yes. We've discussed a few options. We think this one, on-site preservation, actually fits well. And it seems to be the best option for not only a time constraint, but really preserving this area down along the river. And then she's going to say, great.
Agree with that.
So what I'll end up having to do is is a conservation easement documentation report, which just states what this area is like. It's something that goes into the file at the state. You guys will get a copy of it. And it's like any other conservation lands you have in town. It says, this is what it's like now. So as you move forward if you're going to go and monitor this every year or whatever, it just tells you right now that there's some grassland, there's some shrub wetlands, there's no junk. Well, there is some stuff down there. So I'm not going to say that.
We know.
But you know what I mean? I will note that stuff is there. So whether it magically disappears or if more shows up, you will have that. And that's why it's called the baseline documentation. You know what it is at the time of the deeding of it as conservation land, and then you just monitor it additionally. And I'm sure you do it for other lands in town anyway, that you have to do it.
Mary, do you have a comment?
No, I think we should move on.
Concur.
All right.
so we have decided that that's what we want for mitigation now?
I
Well,
don't
the-
think we've
well,
had made a
We get to
decision.
do that?
They've had the discussion with us. They have to go to the state and work it out with the state.
But for this area,
We like it.
We like it.
yeah,
yeah.
we
We
like.
like
And
it.
that's when we go back to the state with
I'll
them
admit
as
this.
part of the meeting. We say,
Yeah.
we've
like
talked
Give
to you
input. Yeah,
and we
okay.
think this is going to work.
Makes it a little bit easier when everyone likes it.
If we can get that cart road.
Mr. Chair, when they come up with a proposal for mitigation, will we hear back from them and be able to have input on that?
Yes. I would say yes, because once the formal application goes in, wetland application, you don't have to meet on it because you've seen and heard it, but the application will be for what we've talked about, for these impacts here, for the proposed use. It'll be this thick. We'll come back and say the application's been filed. Nothing has really changed. If you have any questions, as part of the application, before it gets filed, there'll be the confirmation from the Wetlands Bureau from mitigation to say that there's a mitigation agreement form that goes in there that says we are proposing on-site land preservation. Mitigation coordinator initials it. I initial it as the agent, and then the town is involved in that too. Just to say that's how we're going to do it.
Will it have to be that will be deeded to us eventually?
That's my guess. I don't want to get into the legal terms there because I
So
don't know what I'm talking
that
about. but-
question for Andy, will it have to be subdivided or I don't know? And then it will
That's
be,
a question
it will
for
be surveyed to be the exact acreage of what you're,
That's my guess, but we'll work that all out. We'll make sure that it fits, certainly.
But if this doesn't work, can you come back to us and can we say, okay, so our farmer is losing 4 acres and we've found another place that we can buy?
Yeah, if for some
and
reason.
Turn that to agriculture, a different place in town, possibly?
Possibly, because
Possibly.
unfortunately, what we have to do is mitigate for the wetland impacts. So we have to find
Right,
another parcel that
okay.
has wetlands. Even here, this portion
Even
on
though
site.
we're
has
losing
to have
agricultural
wetlands in it.
land in town.
Yeah, and that sometimes it works if there's nothing else that works. The state will sometimes say, well, it doesn't fit exactly, but the town's really hot to get it, so we'll accept it. I've had that happen in a couple situations, but
All right, so if that
That's up to
didn't
the
work, you
state.
could come back and we could talk about trying to restore
possibly, yep.
5 more acres
Yeah.
of agriculture in town because we are losing our agricultural land
Yep.
in Litchfield.
Marion.
What's that?
Does it have to be this parcel of land or can it be some other parcel that has wetlands with it?
it's time sensitive. The issue is time
This one,
sensitivity.
Marion.
It can be another parcel of
Right.
land, but as we discussed, the time
Have to be.
it takes to go
process.
through those steps sometimes is prohibitive for the proposed development. But if we have something on site that works, we do on-site development. I mean, on-site preservation, excuse me. Just say we're going to subdivide off 6.5 acres in the back.
Would this though be used and preserved in its natural state?
Yes, yep.
with critters and
Yeah, and it's actually,
all the other-
I'm going to reach in.
and,
Part of my reaching in, it's only because we're both right here. It won't just be this. It'll be 6.5 acres. So it'll be like that. So it'll be the
So-
whole piece and it'll have that
Corridor
connectivity
connected.
in the
Yeah.
corridor, yeah, from the town land all the way through. This will be preserved.
So it won't be developed.
No, it won't be allowed to be. It'll be, there'll be an easement in there saying no future development, and that'll be written into the deed forever. You folks will hold the easement on it or however it goes, and that'll never, you use the word forfeit, but essentially the developer landowner is forfeiting their right to do anything down here to meet the preservation mitigation needs. Yep, so nothing will ever happen down there. It'll stay just the way it is. Unless there's like some sort of farming exemption, maybe somebody wants to do something in there, but otherwise this land will stay natural, just like it is today.
For the sake of time, well, I think we can review this matter again when you guys come back from the state and review the options.
Yeah.
We'll get that
meet again.
ZBA letter out.
We'll get
to
that
the
out
ZBA.
before the 19th, before their meeting on the 19th.
Can I unplug?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. If you want to keep these copies, you may. If you would like me to take them back, I can
Yeah.
recycle them or use them again if for the next meeting. It's up to you. If you folks want to keep the paper, you can. If you don't, I'd be glad to take them back.
Thank you very much for coming in,
Thank you
guys.
very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up, I believe I saw, what was his name?
Mr. Chairman, we have Curtis Sampson from the Boy Scouts. He is the head of the Cub Masters.
Is he, I saw him earlier, is he outside in the lobby? Yep, there he is.
Here he is.
Yeah, you can please take a seat right up here and state your name and address and what brings you in today.
My name is Curtis Sampson. I am the Cub Scout Master for Pack 11 here in Litchfield. What we're trying to do is, over the past year with COVID, we've had a little bit of issues with recruitment for our program. And we're trying to do a lot of promoting this year, this summer, in the town and to try and promote the pack and the Cub Scout groups. So an idea that we came up with was being able to put up QR codes, which are the codes that you scan on your phones, with a link to either a website or a video that's about the pack and some of the stuff we've done.
Mhm.
So when people are out, going on the trails, they can, look at the QR code, take it, and they can kind of see a little bit about the pack and try and get some people, thinking about the pack and possibly getting their sons and daughters into the group. So I talked to Carrie Douglas, who recommended I come talk to you guys and see what you guys might have for suggestions on how we could possibly do stuff like that, including the town forest, the state forests, and different ideas that you guys might have that we could utilize for that. What type of permissions we would need to be able to put up these QR codes if we were going to put them on some billboards that or cork boards that are at the trails. But the goal would be to try and just have a simple QR code. It doesn't really have anything on it, just as a QR code. So for people that are curious, you just scan it and that would introduce you to the program.
Okay.
So less of a scavenger hunt, which was originally kind of.
So we're trying to see how we could exactly do it. If we do the scavenger hunt, then we would put them in different areas and it would allow them to learn different parts of the program. So we've been just coming up with different ideas. And there was one idea that would be a scavenger hunt where you would set it up almost like the caches that they have out there now, where you find a little box and you get to read the riddle on it and it'll lead you to the next QR code. So we're still trying to toy with the idea on how we can actually make it towards the group. So we do have some ideas. We're just, I guess, trying to talk to you guys and see what might have worked with other groups and what we would need to actually get that ball rolling.
Okay. Joan, did you have anything?
I was just going to ask what, and you kind of answered that. Would you be putting them at the kiosk, like our kiosk at Morris Falls? There's a kiosk on Tanager Drive in Londonderry at the beginning of the trail.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. We would only put them where we're allowed to put them. I wanted to try and make them a little bit less than, just a bright, bold, white sheet of paper. I wanted to try and make it something that was aesthetically pleasing in the woods. I mean, we're the scout program. We don't want to be, putting stuff out there that's taken away from the natural look of everything, but we do want people to kind of see it, so there are different options out there where we can get some of those, wood burning printers where you could print it on a piece of wood and have the QR code on a piece of wood rather than a piece of paper. It kind of pulls away from the look of the bright white in the wilderness.
We don't have any town forests, and the state forest over here, 200 plus acres. You'd have to deal with asking the state.
Okay.
Of course, it wouldn't be through us.
So yeah, then I guess the kiosks that you're talking about, I think there's a couple at the boat
There's
ramps.
one at, right, there's one at Parker Park, there's one
At Morse Falls.
at Morse Falls, and at the boat ramp, there isn't really a kiosk, is there? There's
there's one
a
there.
sign,
It's a big
signage,
sign.
There's a
big sign.
But the only Moores Falls and the muster field, which is across the street from
Yeah.
the old town hall, fall under the purview of the Conservation
Right.
Commission.
Right.
Am I missing any?
That's right.
So only those two. And then Dara Pond, the river access, and Parker Park fall under recreation.
Oh, they do, okay.
Did they put anything at the what's it called? The
Jeff
Jeff Lane
I don't think they
court
did.
or baseball field? Is there anything out there?
Yeah, you got baseball.
That's
fields,
recreation
soccer
too,
fields
but
in town
just
you can
Yeah.
for the
do.
sake of
So we'll talk
discussion.
to
Especially, that's probably some of your key market right there.
Soccer field.
We
yeah.
do want to talk to you, or I do want to talk to the Boy Scouts about getting involved with the community garden that we have as far as service work.
Okay.
So I'd love to have you get in touch with me and see if we could get some Cub Scouts out there working in the community.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Jason,
I make a motion
to
Or
do
say-
what?
to allow the Boy Scouts to put QR codes on the kiosks at Moores Falls and at the muster field.
I'll second it.
We also, actually, before, so we have a motion and a second, so Jason and then Kevin. I would add that while we don't have a kiosk, possibly doing like a little mini one at Lonely Fort, which is
Oh, right.
on the south, which is by Cranberry. That's a newer walking trail as of October. It's pretty small, but I'd like to kind of integrate all the signs onto one post because it's kind of all over the place, but I'll keep you,
Right across from Blackbird Lane.
And then I hope you stick around to hear, Mr. Lemire is going to talk about getting the fishing derby back together again.
Oh, okay.
And the Cub Scouts would be a great group to be involved in that as well.
Okay, sure.
okay. So, if there isn't any further discussion,
If you got all kinds of cool stuff to do.
all,
they can't
all those
see
in
away.
favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Well, hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay. Those opposed, those abstained, motion passes 7-0-0.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go too far.
All right. Next up, 20 Birch Street special exception.
Can I ask that we move Mr. Lemire up in the schedule?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
So he
Why
doesn't have
not?
to
Why don't
hang
we,
out if he
just so that we
doesn't
can,
want
we're
to.
not taking up everyone's evening. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
You
good.
don't mind, do you?
Yes. Which agenda item is this? Oh, the fishing
This
derby?
is the fishing derby sponsor.
Okay.
And I invited Mr. Lemire here tonight because he's expressed a desire to see that back again. Mr. Lemire makes fishing lures for bass pro shops and is an avid fisherman and loves to have the youth of our town fishing again, wants to do that. I know that you and Steve have already talked about being involved with this again. So it really is kind of timely as far as getting ready this year for next year. It really needs to be gotten ready this year for next year. And Mr. Lemire,
I talked to Steve Lusham about having a derby there, and he'd love to have it there again.
you would,
But
okay.
the pond needs to be dredged out, and that can't be done, according to Steve. I mean, it's full of weeds. You can't get maybe 20 feet from the way the water is out along the shore. It's a great location. I was there at the derby, and I donated some stuff the last derby they had. And it's a perfect location. I don't know what can be done by the town is to have the state let us dredge that out to make it, and
Does
lots
the
of
state
places
have
in
to
that
do
in
it?
that pond the water is only about 4 or 5 inches thick, deep, and that won't sustain any fish for any amount of time.
Even out in the middle?
Which pond is this?
It's on Dusham's land, off
Lane.
of
I'm
Talent Road.
looking at
Oh, over by where the
Texas.
dam is? Okay.
Yeah, it's Chase Brook.
Chase Brook,
Chase Brook
okay.
Pond.
It's a great location for the kids. Another
Off the
location
road.
that Diane had said they could probably do would be, right on 3A. That's to me, that's too dangerous on 3A now with the traffic that goes down that road.
Yeah.
Especially the water's a lot faster there. Not a lot of parking. You need quite a bit of parking because the last time, if you remember, Joan, there was a lot of people, a lot of kids
75
went to that.
kids, yeah.
Wow.
And the kids really enjoy it. Problem would be to, get a hold of the state and see what we can do about letting.
Well, they'd have to get a wetlands dredge permit to dredge the water there. They'd have to file for a permit,
With the state.
wetlands board.
Okay. Marion, I saw your hand first.
I thought we had discussed this a short time back, and I thought Joan had mentioned it was under the purview of the rec committee.
So back in 2017, I remember we had kind of discontinued doing the fishing derby, and we passed the ball over to rec, and then rec kind of.
No,
Well,
no,
they
they
didn't-
showed tomatoes.
Coronavirus it. And
So yeah, there was like I'm not sure because it was new to them that I'm not sure what the reasons were. But I did have a conversation with Steve Gannon after a rec meeting a few months ago, and I just casually tossed the idea out there. Perhaps we could
He
work on
came in
it.
without a lot of information. for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, we definitely want to combine our forces, don't you think?
Yeah.
There's another, pond. I don't know about Dara.
Mhm.
If that water would be cold enough to support, the life of trout. They need colder water. They're cold water fish. If that's a possibility, check with the state, and if we could have it at Dara, that's huge.
They've got a lot of milfoil problem at Dara,
Mm,
so I don't know
we
if
do have a
that would work.
I think it's a good idea to bring back the fishing derby, and back where we had it, okay? And Dara Pond, you only have that beach area, which is very confined.
Right.
Versus you've got more area for more kids. The only thing that I want to make everybody aware of is that first of all, I'm in favor of it, but there are a lot of things that go with it, okay? And one of the problems why we discontinued it, and I'm letting everybody know, is that we had more difficulties with parents than we had with kids.
Mhm.
Number one, parents were overfishing. Number two, they did not have control of their children, okay? Number three, parents were bringing alcohol. This is something that is not imagined, but I witnessed it. I had to personally talk to 3 people about bringing alcohol, which is not permissible, okay? And as far as the Derby, there are certain rules that the state and Fish and Game insist that you follow,
Right.
okay? And it was a great time for the kids. Let me just not be a wet blanket. The kids really enjoyed it. But the problem is if we go forward with it and we manage it, we have to insist on certain disciplines. No ifs and buts about it. That pond that you were talking about, again, I had to personally chase kids out of the trees that were damaging them. And when I did, the parents were all over me like a wet blanket. Okay? That's the responsibility that you take on. If you're going to use somebody's property, you've got to have.
Maybe we just need more people working it, and if we do it with rec and use rec people, we get the Cub Scouts involved, we get the Boy Scouts maybe involved, and we're involved
And I
as well.
understand all that.
Then if we add more people, I don't know how many people you tried.
We had 5 or 6 people, and all I did was there were 2 of us patrolling.
Yeah,
Constantly.
I think that the more people we got involved in that, the better the projection
I
would
think
be.
so.
Performance.
I'm in favor of having the fishing derby come back, no question about it. And I'd like to, right here, volunteer to help you out to do it, okay?
I can,
And,
Bass Pro and Cabela's are big customers of mine. I know I can get them to
yeah,
donate a lot of stuff.
because the other problem that we ran into, and I hate to sound like a wet blanket, is that with the fishing derby, Fish and Game insisted that you only catch a certain amount of
Limit,
fish,
limit.
okay? And people were adults and teenagers were just hauling him in by the bucket load,
Right.
which is not
So we-
fair.
We can,
Hold on. I had Marion and then Joan up first with questions.
I was with Harry that year where we had people climbing up in the trees and he'd go and speak to them. Next thing you know, the kids back in the trees and the mother's calling us all kinds of names because it's a safety.
perhaps
I
we
think-
ask for a
yeah.
police officer.
Yeah, I think we can, I think moving forward,
Moving forward.
We can
yeah,
handle it.
moving
We can
forward,
handle
we, what we
Yeah.
know now, we can
We can
perhaps address
handle
it. We can overcome it.
And we had a lot
Joan,
of people that did
hold on,
do it,
Mary.
but it's still
Joan.
went on.
Okay, there's some other issues. You need a permit from the state. Who is running it? Is it Recreation and Conservation running it? Who is actually sponsoring it? You need to file for a permit from the state to release fish. You need to buy matching fish from the hatchery. The state will match whatever you buy. That's how we got the trout in there.
Did you
So
say
there's a
American
cost to
fish?
that. What?
Sound like you said American fish.
Sorry, American trout. It's a new breed, American trout. So those are the two biggies, the permit.
Well, it
and-
sounds like the biggest one's gonna be dredging it out.
Well, yeah, if you have to actually dredge material out of there, then you have to get a wetlands permit, and that should be started now.
So it's good that we're starting now.
And
If
the
that's what we do.
landowner would have to apply for that.
Sorry. No, we can look at it and see what we need to do to dredge it out
How
or,
deep is it in the middle? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I don't recall it ever being that deep, you know.
It's got a culvert in it at the end. It's got a dam like.
Right,
thing.
right, right.
Push, I don't
Which
know
you-
if it has boards, Paul.
It does, has
Okay,
boards.
Maybe
Yeah, they're in- they're
maybe
in-
gotta empty the boards,
The boards are in
Okay.
poor shape.
and then you can take, the current will wash it out, clean
Right.
it out.
So
Some.
I don't know if we need to make a motion tonight, but
Or
I,
do we want to get involved with it again?
right, and I'd make a motion that we
go ahead.
investigate redoing the fishing derby and that.
I'll second it.
Oh, I wasn't done yet, and that I have permission to reach out to Rec to work with them on it so that we
I'll
can do
second
this
that.
together.
Steve Gannon's a go. He-
All right, who
he
seconded?
wasn't
You
able to be
technically,
here.
you seconded, but you came early. You said.
Harry seconded.
So I made the motion, and who wants the second?
Harry seconded.
All right, here we'll give Harry the second because technically he came
You
first.
got it.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
All those,
I abstain.
Opposed.
I abstain.
She quit
all those
fishing
abstaining.
years
All
ago.
right, motion passes 6-0-1.
What does Paul need to do next?
Good
Well,
question.
if it needs to be dredged, if the area needs to be dredged, they need to start talking about that and call the state wetlands board.
Good
and
luck to
see if they-
Steve.
Get hold of Steve. I know Steve wants it dredged, but he said, you know,
You got the
they
equipment.
didn't let him do that.
He's got the
Well,
equipment.
if he applies, he needs to apply to see if they'll let him do
I'll
it.
talk to him tomorrow.
Stay-
And then, or either get out there with a canoe and see how deep it is,
Those
and
boards gone
how
bad.
cold it is.
Those boards gone bad.
Yeah.
Then
There-
let's,
there's like 4 pipes driven in.
Yeah.
And then the boards are falling in.
okay, I know, yeah.
You know,
There is a quick solution,
take them out.
okay?
No boards?
That's how we did,
Get lower.
look what we just did at Redfields. They took that out at Redfields,
Yeah.
okay, and that cleaned that brook out
Oh, at
nice.
Redfield,
Oh,
on the
it's gonna
3A, you
cost
mean?
Yeah.
to-
Yeah, but does that move stuff down to other people's property?
Of course it
All
does.
that sand?
Of course it does.
I don't want it in my backyard.
You won't get there.
But get to
No, the
Steve,
beaver dam will
Steve's
stop it.
backyard.
The beaver dam's gonna take care of it.
Damn views.
But it's the weeds that, you know, the kids wouldn't be able to fish. You know, the weeds that are growing up there. If you get a chance, stop by up there and take a look at it.
Oh, it's
I've never seen it this bad.
Well,
It was a
we're
nice
out of
picture you
water.
had up there, but there's no.
But well, you know,
Okay.
Okay.
How about forming some sort of committee? I'm sorry, I'm lousy on names. What's your first name?
Paul,
Paul? How about getting with Paul? And we can start working on it now.
absolutely. I'll help out as much as I can.
If you guys want to email, get in communication, and start setting up the next steps to doing this, by all means. You know, the motion
Okay,
to-
Paul, well, I don't want to get your telephone number
Got one.
in the
Does
meeting. but-
Diane have it?
Yeah, I can get. in touch with
Okay.
her. I'll
You
get
have
that
it?
number to you. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be all set.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Paul.
coming in.
Okay, thanks.
Come in. Thanks for taking it on. Thanks very much for staying.
So
Let's go.
I don't really want to rush anybody, but it is 8:35 and we're like a third of the way through the whole
Okay.
agenda. So
Let's move on.
let's
We got the special exception we gotta
Yep.
work on now.
all right.
Yep,
So
special
next up,
exception.
20
Present this.
20 Birch Street special exception, special wetlands exception.
So,
Come up to the mic, young man.
Oh, is this the guy?
So I'm more just here to answer whatever questions you have. I just happened to notice that my special exemption was on the docket tonight. I know I'm on the zoning board, but I knew nothing about tonight until I stumbled upon it this morning.
Could you state your name and address for the
I'm
record?
Andy McClavey, Andrew McClavey, I should say, 20 Birch Street, Litchfield, New Hampshire.
talk slow. Andrew, what's your last name?
McClavey, McLavey.
O-E-V-A-Y.
EY.
E-Y.
So the reason it gets to the Conservation Commission is because in the zoning, the zoning board has to notify the planning board and the Conservation Commission within 25 days before the meeting. So that's why we're here to discuss the special exception. I think I emailed you all this
Yeah.
today, this afternoon. And Mr. McClavey did get a letter from Pondview Wetland Consultants. So let me just go over this a little bit for you. The end of Birch Street, it abuts town property, his lot abuts town property to the east. They're expanding they're proposing an accessory dwelling unit on the back of the existing dwelling. And then they're improving the septic field on the backside of the page.
Next page.
So the wetland to the east, the wetland scientists did not find any evidence of being a vernal pool. The wetland to the west, however, which would be,
This one.
I thought it's 85 feet to the property line, but less to the wetlands. He thought that it looked like a vernal pool, but he didn't find any. He didn't find it. Look at the screen up there. If you want, Marion. He didn't find any evidence of vernal pool. But you have to remember that we've been in a drought situation for at least 2 years.
I've lived in that area. I lived in the house my entire life.
Yeah,
It's wet for about a month in the spring, and then it's dry as a bone.
and that's why it's called a vernal pool, springtime pool. So you can, the stuff I sent you today on special exception, you can, in section 1208, special exceptions, you can do an expansion of a principal residential building that exists as of December 2000, which this did exist as of 2000, to within 25 feet of the delineated wetland boundary with a written evaluation by a certified wetland scientist. So he's beyond 25 feet to the wetland. He has the letter from James, I don't know how you say his last name, certified wetland scientist, number 161. What I would suggest would be, I'm not opposed to this because it does have the distance to the wetland, as you can see up there. But I would suggest that they do not use any, if they use fertilizer back there, it has to be organic. That no other kinds of lawn fertilizer.
No issues with that. I've never fertilized my backyard ever in my life
Good.
anyway.
That's good to hear. That's what I like to hear.
Nice and easy.
So,
Okay.
Well, whoever's moving in there may want to fertilize.
That's true.
No,
And if
trust
you,
me, he doesn't want to do that.
So I'd like to make a motion that we grant it.
we're not granting anything. We're
We're
We're in
approval.
favor of it.
We're in
sending-
favor of it.
We're an advisory board only, so we suggest to the ZBA.
Do you
So
want to
I'll make a
modify?
motion that we suggest to the ZBA
Okay.
that we approve, that they approve
This wetland special
this
exception.
wetland
Hold
special
on.
exemption.
You
Okay.
want to second it?
It's a 2 year competing.
No, was it an age thing? Okay, I'll let
But
you do it.
I would still like
Okay, I second it.
to say in that motion that we suggest to the ZBA no fertilizer be used,
So is that a friendly?
a friendly
Amendment?
amendment, yeah.
All right. So and then
Subsurface wise, it's the only thing you could do back there too, so this is the best thing for them.
ZBA.
What'd you say?
Approve.
Subsurface is the only thing you can do? What do you mean?
Very good.
all right.
I don't think the
Joan, I'm gonna
word
need
is
help on that one.
approved, Diane.
Huh?
I don't think the word is.
No, we're not.
No, it's
approving.
not.
Yeah, okay.
We're
No, It's
just
suggest.
yeah.
We're-
Yeah, I got it.
Sending.
I got
Yeah,
it.
we're just going to be sending a
Not
letter
opposing.
saying that.
Gotcha.
we're okay with
Suggest.
that.
Cool.
All right.
Sending letter. Okay, got it.
All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
You sure you want to do this?
No.
Your parents are moving in.
All those opposed? Abstained? Wait. You already hit your hand out, right?
You got it.
Motion?
7.
Yeah, but
7-0-0.
he kept his hand up when I said opposed, confusing me. All right, motion passes 7-0-0. That's
Okay.
And if you find any rare turtles back
Seconded,
there,
right?
just let us know so we can document it.
Harry did.
Did.
Yes, Harry did second.
All right.
Thank you very
Yeah, I
much.
saw you.
Thank you for coming in.
Yep. Good luck.
Bye.
I couldn't help
Hey.
it.
Next up, Diane,
Help yourself.
community garden
Quick.
update.
Very, very quick. We had about 40 people from 3 different groups come to the community garden over the last month. We had the selectmen, the rec commission, conservation commission, and heritage commission all represented at the meeting on that Saturday morning, which was, I think, the first time we've ever had all of those boards together for anything.
There's a quorum, can't be there.
To show what was going on at the garden. We have a local person coming to put in a parking lot for us there.
Mhm.
That I'm waiting for Steve to just approve that area. We've got a wonderful person who mowed the area and took down some trees. Luana pruned the trees in that area, just like she said she would. She came up, showed up, did it, and that was wonderful. And so we're moving forward. It's slower than we would like, but it is moving forward, and we'll be at 100% next year. But we are at 50% this year.
Okay.
Done. She did, and I did too.
Oh, you met Mother Nature.
Yes, she loved me. The turtle.
Yep.
nests.
Now we're
Yes.
moving right along to the next
yeah.
one.
Next, turtle nests marked. So was it 3 weeks ago now?
June 4th.
Today? Okay. Yeah, Joan and I received notice of turtle nests out on the bike path on 3A right by the Nesting Cake Brook, the intersection of Pinecrest and Albuquerque. Those were marked off. They are still marked off. And the highway department was notified not to mow there. You can see it if you drive past the intersection. And then I got another notice from a member of the public about a possible Blandings turtle nest right on the beach of Dara Pond. And I marked that off, and the person who sent in the notice actually made a little amateur barricade around it. And it looks like it was in a moment too soon because people were driving around on the beach, and it looks like they just missed it. So,
Awesome.
so I was able to mark that up as well. So, yeah, we've been doing this for the past couple of years. If any members of the public have a turtle's nest in an odd spot and they'd like to reach out to us or help submitting a report to Fish and Game if they believe it's an endangered species, feel free to reach out. All right. Next, Jason, lawnmower purchase.
Yep. This will take a couple of minutes, so just bear with me because I did a lot of homework over the past month. So as you know, I've been pretty hot to trot on trying to get some equipment to help us maintain our land. I think that is one of the missions and responsibilities of any conservation commission is to maintain their properties. I think that we as a commission over the years might have had that lower on the list, and I think I'd like to see it move up higher on the list to get our properties maintained. I always show you pictures. I actually dug up another one. That was Moores Falls in 2018 when it hadn't been really maintained for years. And then after a couple of volunteers come in, this is what it looks like today. And all this is done with volunteer equipment and on volunteers' time. And I'd like to see us think about purchasing some equipment so that we can do this ourselves. So as of completed in the last month, based on the direction that the commission here gave to me. So I basically did these 5 things over the past month. You asked me to talk to the golf course. I talked to the owner of the golf course and asked him if he ever sells used lawnmower equipment that maybe we could purchase. He told me that the mowers that they use for golf courses are not the same mowers that we would use for a field. And then he gave me some pretty pointed advice, and he said, don't bother with getting anything old, get something new that's going to last you a while. So the golf course, getting a mower from the golf course is pretty much out of the question. The second thing is I talked to a mower mechanic about fixing an existing mower that we have at Highway. I talked to the Recreation Commission about sharing the cost of a mower or equipment. I talked to a landscape company to see how much it would cost a landscape company to actually maintain that piece of property. And then I talked to the Highway Department as well to get their input. So based on that, there are at least 5 options that we have if we want to go in this direction. And I got prices for each one. So option number 1 that we have is we can fix the old mower. That is the old mower that sits at the Highway Department. It's about 11 years old. It's got a busted drive gear. We got 2 prices to fix that up, and each price came in at $3,000, which is probably totaled basically. But that is an option for us. I was hoping one of the prices was going to come in at like $1,800. That, you know, might be palatable, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So $3,000 to fix that. Option number 2, purchase a new mower, like I talked about at the last meeting. Those are about $7,900. That is the exact mower that the Highway Department has, and the Highway Department would maintain it for us. It gets the same equipment as they have, so it should be pretty easy to maintain. So that's an option for us at $7,900, and that is a commercial type of mower, so it's not a residential brand. Option number 3 is I talked to the Recreation Commission and asked them if they would be interested in splitting a mower with us. And they basically said, no, not interested in that, but we could potentially make use of a tractor because they want to expand some of the areas at their pond. And there's a few other things that they want to do to expand some of the recreational fields in town. And got a price on one of these, a general price. These are not cheap. It's going to cost somewhere between 20, 25, maybe even a little bit more than $25,000. With that, you get a mower deck, you get a real tractor, you get a bucket. And so this would, if this ever went through, it would be split between the Conservation Commission and the Rec Commission. So 12, 13 grand a piece. And we would be able to use this for a lot of other purposes just other than mowing. If we had an issue down at Morris Falls that we needed to pull out trees, we could go right down there and pull them out. And then the Rec Commission could also use this to help maintain their properties as well.
Garden.
Yep. Let me go through the other two first real quick. The number 4 is we could hire a landscaper. So I got a price to actually what it would actually take to hire somebody to mow Morris Falls and maybe a little bit of the muster field when the Highway Department can't get to it. And that's $4,500 to about $6,700 per year to get somebody to mow that for us. That's, if you think about it, if they do 10 hours a month, there's 6 months in the mowing season, you know, start adding it up and it gets up there. I also crunched the numbers on what it would take for the Highway Department to do it for us. They don't have the time, they don't have the people, but that costs money as well. And if you take someone that makes $40-50 an hour, add in cost of insurance and benefits and things like that, you're talking $70-80 an hour. You multiply that times 10 hours a month, that's $800 a month. You multiply that times 7 months out of a year, you're talking $5,000. So cost of a piece of equipment is $8,000. You could think of it that way. And then the last thing we can do is do nothing or go in a different direction. Or do the minimum, just let it grow, which I am not a fan of because I want it to look nice, but we can let it grow up and just mow the path down to the river and just let it go like that. So those are the options that I came up with.
Marion.
After thinking about it, because the first time we went around about this, I thought, fix the old mower. And then I went home and talked to my husband. And he said, if you buy a brand new mower, you get warranties, you get maintenance. You can buy extended warranties that will go on for longer than that. If it breaks down in 6 months to a year, you call them up, either take it back to them or they come and pick it up. The other thing is, and you know, he said the other thing I would suggest is only have certain people use the mower. So instead of letting the other people at the garage or wherever use the mower, it is strictly for Conservation Commission people to either learn how to use or to use it.
Right.
It's
essentially-
it's more money, but in the long run, it's gonna save money.
Who over here had a question first?
I don't know. I was looking.
Joan, you want to go ahead?
With the tractor, I would think that the rec commission would be getting more wear and tear out of it, where they want to extend fields and whatever. With the ride-on mower, the second option, I understand that landscape companies use them because they're fast and they have double blades. They're really, glorified lawnmower because they have double blades underneath and they had the individual turning and you can zip right around, but I don't know as we need that. I don't know. I'm not in favor of doing nothing. I understand that the highway department is doing Musterfield and another company is doing Morris Falls. The top, I was there today. It looks pretty good. The top's mowed, the trail's wide to get down.
That's
the
the
way.
That's me.
I'll
And
say that.
somebody else in town
Right.
with a big tractor
Right.
and Matt.
Diane.
I love the idea of splitting the tractor with rec that also has a lawnmower on it. If it's as good as a lawnmower would be that we purchase it, will it do as good a job? And I do think that we could use that plow for the conservation garden as well. So I do see that we could or would use it. And like Jay said, we would be able to pull up. It would be nice to be able to go get our own trees that are down on paths with something that's got some oomph.
Right. So I would like to propose another option.
Oh, can I caveat just one thing with the tractor first?
Sure.
Just to throw it out on the table because I forgot to mention it. So the Recreation Commission did say that they were interested in this. And they are potentially looking to use impact fees to do that.
Mhm.
We don't know if impact fees can be used for this purpose or not. So there's a little bit of an unknown right there, and they haven't taken vote on this. They haven't even discussed it at all. They're going to hopefully discuss it at the next meeting. So this would all be contingent on that.
A
Also,
question on
I-
that same idea.
Well, could I say my option
Yes,
or do
yes.
you want to?
Can I just say about the price? Would that have to be a warrant article? Because of the cost?
Okay, and Matt, before you get into yours, I always go back to the funds that we have in the bank.
Mhm.
Right now, we are, as of June 1st, I did the financials on this. I'm not just throwing it out there and saying we should, spend money. I did the financials on this. As of June 1st, we had $1 million in the bank, and as we know, we went over the million, and the money over the cap went into a different fund. So
General fund.
as of June 1st, we had $1 million in the bank. That's the highest amount, that's the limit that we can have. So that was as of June 1st. We then purchased a piece of property from Colby for $110,000. That dropped us to $890,000.
I asked them to post-date the
Yeah,
check
yeah,
or
yeah.
predate the check so that
Yeah.
it would take it out. We won't lose it.
They
because-
did.
Yeah, good.
So we do have about, in the vicinity, don't hold me to this number, we do have about an additional 100,000 coming in within the next few months. There are
Nice.
multiple Firefly Lane impact or land use change tax money coming back in. There's a couple of other properties out. There's actually 3 other properties out there that are coming back in. So we're going to essentially be back up potentially to the $1 million cap within a couple of months. And if not, we're going to be very, very close to that. So as of September 1st, it's possible that we could be within $10,000 of the cap. And if any one of these things hits, okay, if Barron hits, the gas station hits, the golf course hits, if any person in town that has 10.1 acres of property and does a subdivision or builds a house on it, we're going to be over the cap. So what I'm recommending is that we use a little bit of this money because we're going to go over the cap most likely for this effort. And I'm thinking, I did some numbers on this as well. It looks like there could be a couple $100,000 coming in from Barron's, or between Barron's, the horse farm, and the gas station. There could be a couple $100,000 in there. It might not hit before a warrant article, before town meeting, but if one of them does, then we're going to be over the
Fight for
cap.
it.
As long as you keep the taxes down, people will be happy.
So
This
That's
right
not
here is a chart that I created that has the money. So this is, the blue line shows the money that was in the conservation fund. So in 2019, we had a little over $600,000 in there. Then when we started getting to 2020, this is Firefly Lane. It's probably a little bit of the one off
Weather-
Page Road.
Weatherby,
Weatherstone,
Stone.
Weatherstone.
This is where we started to really gain some money, is between 2020 and 2021. This is when we went over the cap. So that yellow line is our cap. This is where they took money out of it. So this money, this is the 35 grand that came out. This is the purchase. Actually, this is the purchase of the Colby property. This is the money that's going to go in after the Colby over the next couple of months. And this is the projection going forward. So my thought here is to use some of this money for it, not go to a warrant article. Sorry for the long-winded
Matt,
nature
you
of
were
that.
gonna say,
yeah, so I had an option. I guess it's more a cost-effective one, but
I don't
if-
think we need to worry about
if-
that.
So my thinking was, if we want to use what we already have, I was looking at options for the police department has an ATV that we occasionally use. I need to check the status of it and the possibility of them getting a side by side and splitting that with them. And then you can buy a brush mower that you can attach to those for like $2,000. And then you can kind of go around that quickly. Plus, you also have the utility of it being able to fit in narrow spaces, being able to get all sorts of equipment in there, and being able to get to tight spaces, cleaning up trash. You do all sorts of things with those. And if we needed something with a loader front, which is pretty seldom, we can rent one from Hudson Rental. They have a variety of different options up there. But I don't know if that was my option, but to just toss on the table for people to look at. Harry?
like to make a motion that we have Jason look and chase after the lawnmower. Strictly for us, not that I don't want to share, but when you start sharing equipment, particularly in a municipality, you run into
Territorial things.
territorial things and there's more situations than you really want to handle. So
I don't
my
really see-
recommendation is I'd go after the lawnmower.
Can we do that, Matt or Kevin?
What's that? What,
What?
make him make a motion?
No, preclude. I thought there was some sort of unwritten rule in town where if one department has a piece of equipment, the other department could have access to that.
Well, highway already told us no.
Well,
Because but there is a rule that I recall that the selectmen had where equipment can be shared between departments and but it
I'll
can only
address that.
strictly be shared between departments.
I'll
But
address that, okay?
And we have gone to the different departments for help in other
Mhm.
situations. And let's say the cooperation hasn't been as enthusiastic as we would like it.
well, I don't. Oh, sorry, Luana, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the tone of we have the money, so let's spend it kind of rubs me the wrong way. But I think the more important point is that as a conservation commission, people want us to maintain these lands, and this is what the money is meant to go for. And in order to maintain those lands, I think it is time that we purchase a mower straight out and do some kind of program, because the way it is now, if something happens to these very few people who are stepping up and doing this all the time, then they're going to revert back to wild areas, and that's not what people want. That harbors the ticks and that sort of thing.
So
I think
that's-
Well,
something, I like to really think, I think it's all about it's not just a mower deck. You can have a brush hog in the back, do the same thing.
Mhm.
And that's what's done up there. And you can do a lot with that instead of a lawnmower. You can keep the brush away from the trails and stuff like that. So you're not inundated with ticks, okay? But with the Kubota or John Deere, whatever you get, You can get a brush hog in the back of that thing or mower in the rear.
Excuse me one second, Kevin. How may I help you?
Sorry to interrupt. I'm leaving for the evening.
Bye.
Do you want me to lock the front door now, or do you guys want to do it when you leave?
I believe we do have a key.
We can do it.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Joan
you.
has a key.
Thank you.
Yeah, you just hit the fob twice and it will lock it.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
great.
Thank you. Have a good night.
I
Diane.
want to kind of address the spend it because we have it thing. It's not spend it because we have it, it's spend it because we need it. And we're about to lose the money.
Yeah.
And so it's spend it before we lose it is more my
For the
feeling.
purpose of conservation.
Because we need it. Yeah, we need it. And to say, we're going to nickel and dime this together with sticky tape, which is kind of what we've been doing. When we have the money that is there for it, that if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. I think that we
Absolutely.
should use the money.
Absolutely.
I just have one quick question. If we're gonna purchase it for the Conservation Commission, would it have to go through the town to buy it?
No,
It
not.
will be
you can
coming out
purchase
of-
it out.
No, my question is, could Jason,
You gotta get 3 quotes, no matter what, okay? Purchasing policy, public.
okay,
policy.
so you
Yeah,
have to
it
go
has to
through
go
the
through the
town
purchasing
type of
policy.
situation.
Yep.
And I'm sure that Jason, with his fantastic abilities and
Communicate.
personality, could probably work on,
Sorry.
work on maybe improving that price somewhat. But I think that we should, go ahead, that's my
Is
motion.
that what we want though? I mean,
Well, let's talk about just, if the
Well, we have-
mower is just gonna mow,
right.
where we need to do things with
multi-purpose.
a,
Brush hog.
not a brush hog, but what about Morris Falls, like move that trash out of there, that big pallets and stuff? We can't do that with a mower.
Gotta do it with a loader.
So what if
mean,
we
you can-
don't split it with rec? What if we buy it on our own? We have the funds to buy that
Where are
on
we gonna
our
store it to
own.
begin, and where are we gonna store it? There's another question.
I think highway offered to store it.
And go ahead, the old fire department.
Well, so there's some issues with the old fire department. So
We
with
have
it,
gets-
it's getting kind of snug in there. And from what I remember from a few selectmen's meetings ago, there's potentially another large vehicle coming into the town's possession, possibly. So we just want to take that into
There's
consideration.
something I haven't heard.
No, it's remember the grant for that emergency response vehicle, that large, it was like a van or something. And the idea was that they would only be able to store it at the old fire station. And again, this is
I
hypothetical.
wasn't at that meeting.
Oh, you weren't? Okay.
Oh, I don't remember anything about that one.
But then the other issue is how would we transport this? Because
yeah.
because I talked with Highway about that too, and they said they'd be willing to, but if they already have time constraints, then it might be like, well, hey, we need that this weekend. I was like, well, we can't help you. So
Well,
and
you can drive it down the road.
You can
the
drive down
zero
road.
turn,
You can take the zero turn, or you
the
Go
go
total
back
down.
tractor.
to-
Sorry, you're going back to
We're
the
back to
tractor.
the traffic.
You can drive
have
that
to-
down the road,
You'd have to
Yeah.
get it registered.
I drive on the road all the time.
farm plates, you'd have to have farm plates, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, no, yeah, the town plates, the government plates, that's fine.
Yeah, sorry, I thought we were talking about the zero turn because we were
No, we're
talking
back
about the
to
mower.
this.
Okay.
Zero turn is gonna take a good trailer. They have one up there.
So, well, there's the motion.
So your motion was for the
What-
mower, though.
What's your
right?
motion?
Yes.
Okay. So could you please repeat your motion?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we purchase the Ferris, whatever the
This is a reading test.
ISX 800, and when we go through the proper channels to purchase that specifically to be used for the conservation department.
Don't think you can do that one.
Does the town
We're,
have a
he's in the middle of
trailer?
a motion.
Hold on a second.
Yeah,
Can we,
second the
can we
motion.
need a
Second the
second
motion.
and then we can get into a discussion. Do we have a
Let me
second?
Get you your tractor,
Aye.
your lawnmower.
I know.
I got you.
Was that a second? Who is,
Not for me,
okay.
Not
Do
for
I
me.
have a second?
proposing it.
Me.
Not for me. I'm not ready for that.
I'd like to
That's
make a
me.
motion that we purchase the tractor.
Hold on a sec. We have
Right,
a
there's a
motion.
motion on the
No.
floor.
No, we didn't get a second though.
Oh, is that right? Does it fail at that point automatically?
You have to say it fails for lack of a
Fails for
second.
second.
Okay. So
Right
fails
there, Tom.
fails for lack of a second. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna say, I would like us to buy outright the tractor for Concom at $25,000.
So
And I'm looking for a second.
does
And we can
anyone
have discussion.
does anyone have is there a
Do we have a
second?
second on that?
No, I want the rec commission and the
Yeah.
conservation to meet first and see
Yeah,
what
me
they can
too.
do with that.
I actually agree with,
Well, I'm
with-
trying to make Harry happy that nobody else owns it
I'm personally okay
if we share.
if we share it.
I have
think
no
so, too.
problem sharing,
So
but you
that,
know what we
that
could do?
fails, that
Well,
fails.
hold
for
on,
lack
hold
of-
on,
Wait,
hold
wait,
on, hold on,
wait.
Diane, please.
Okay.
I would like to declare that as failed. All right, so I haven't heard a second, so the motion has failed.
Yep.
I don't see us having an issue sharing it with rec. I think what would be important to do is just like we could either open up the communication channel or maybe just have a chart that says, all right, on this date, we're gonna so and so is gonna take it, rec's gonna take it, so that or like a calendar so that we can see we can get more organization. But since I am pretty actively involved in management of these properties, if the rest of the commission agrees that we want to make sure we're getting the right equipment for property management, I want to see if we can get something with the most utility out of it. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the tractor, but I'm just seeing some logistical issues
What
with
gives you, give us a little bit more on that. What gives you the most utility?
So I kind of going back to my idea is if we wanted to look at like a side by side, like a small side by side that we could use occasionally, we can cover a lot of ground with that. You can get the brush mower attachment to it. You can fit it in. You can get it on the trails. You can get it in access in certain areas. You can bring a lot of hand tools with you. You can bring some power tools with you.
How
You
wide
can
of a
get
cut
trash.
does that cut?
What?
How wide of a cut would that do?
The brush mower? They're pretty big. Like I'm not sure if anyone else has looked those up before, but it is a wide mower. It's like the engine is right and the mower is all on one assembly on the trailer, and you just tow that thing around. So you can still do it pretty quickly, and you get the durability of a brush mower as opposed to.
No, but you won't
But
get the.
does rec want that?
Probably
Well,
not.
not
Or
talking
was
about
the
that.
I haven't
tractor
even
the-
broached the idea. I've never seen a side by side used for mowing grass.
You're
Who
right.
has this equipment?
I mean, I've got to say I'm new to it, and I'm just recently doing research on it. But I have seen such equipment advertised. I can't say if I've seen anybody.
Okay,
use
there's
it
nobody
before.
in the town that has it, correct?
Not that current equipment, no. But,
No one that I know of.
Is police looking at it?
to my knowledge, there was discussion about it. But Jason,
So I didn't tell you about my personal feelings.
oh yeah, go for it.
Harry.
I agree with Harry in respect to the mower. I don't care if rec shares it with us or not.
I agree with that.
I like the idea of a mower because it's fast and we can go up and down at Morris Falls and go mow that very quickly. We can also mow the community garden if necessary.
That's
I
good.
like the idea of that. However, the utilization that you get from a tractor goes well above and beyond what you can do with the mower. Because this has one
3-point
of those
hitch.
3-prong hooks on the back,
3-point
at any point in
hitch.
time, 3-prong hitches on the back, at any point in time, we can put on a brush hog, we can put on a mower deck, you can put on a backhoe if you wanted to. And I think they cost like a couple grand a piece, these.
And a rototiller.
And if we lose, I like the idea.
Rotilla?
of
Oh, I
the-
like that.
I love the idea of the mower being able to crank this thing out fast, but the utilization on one of these things, I think we would just get a better bang for our buck.
And I
And-
think yeah.
And personally, I'm a fan of seeing if we can split it with the rec commission. If the rec commission comes back and just can't do it, can't use impact fees, it doesn't pass, then I think Plan B would either buy this ourselves or just buy a mower.
Or we could split the difference. Bobcat makes side by sides with a loader front and a power takeoff on the back or
Did you
something.
check how much those are? I mean, I'm
They're very
trying.
expensive. Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that as a real option. Those are very expensive.
You know what? I can honestly say you won't be driving.
I like
that
All right, so
car.
where are we, guys?
All
It's 9:10.
And I'd like, the motion is that
We look
Jason have a conversation
with rec.
with the rec committee
Mhm.
in depth and find out if they are actually or can share the cost of the tractor.
All right.
I like
Okay,
Is that a
find out
motion?
if-
Is that a motion?
And
That's a motion.
can you
That's a
also,
motion. I second it.
can you also put in that motion that that if they want to do that, Matt's idea of that it would be logged in when and who uses it when.
Well, let's see if they
Time.
want to do it. Then
Yeah.
we'll figure
Yeah,
out
let's
how
see
Yeah,
if
we
they
can
want
figure
to
it
do
out.
it first,
Plus-
and then we can,
So
Okay.
Jay, you'll go to the rec?
Yes.
All right, he motioned, he put up a motion, I seconded it. Can we
Okay.
vote?
All right. Any further discussion? All right. One more thing, just to be a squeaky wheel. We do have to take consideration that we're using heavy equipment and machinery, that we got to take into consideration how often we use that out there. You can't just be using that every weekend. There's gonna be some impact on the trails and
No. That,
yes.
This is something that's not gonna go out there and mow the sideline of the trail. It's just gonna mow the field three or four times a year. It's gonna take care of, the mustard field. You want to get to the top of the hill. When I mowed it, I used to mow all the way to the top and down around the corner. I cleared a lot of brush out of there to do it. With a
Okay,
bigger John Deere.
but we already talked about
But we
hypothetically
need a
using that.
lawnmower.
Yeah, for using that for the loader front, using that in other parts of the property, which is
That'll work up there.
no, I know, but also using it for in other properties.
It'll work.
Yeah, I know, but it's still going to have an impact, and we need to be cognizant of that.
So
why
you'd
don't
have,
we take one thing at a time and see if they'll even,
That was my discussion. All right,
Okay,
so
thank you. So
Another-
the discussion
another-
was,
all right, hold on. One more, Joan.
so then do you have, the 20,000 to 25, that's for what you see there, then you have to buy the additional mower
Oh, they come-
I
attachment?
didn't get a quote on this,
But that- but that
but
doesn't
from
come
what I'm
with it.
told, about 25 grand will get you a Kubota John Deere with the bucket on the front and a mower.
And the mower, okay,
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that sound right, Kevin?
Yep.
Okay.
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 If there's no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye. All right.
700.
Those opposed,
best I could do?
those
All right,
abstained,
I appreciate
motion
it.
passes 7-0-0. All right, next up, letter to Stage Crossing President sent.
We
Well,
did that.
yep, I click. Yep, they came in. So
Good done.
hopefully we'll hear from them
Next.
soon. Hold on. Land preservation plan, land criteria.
We don't have time to do that tonight.
Skip
I'd like to
that.
table that to the next meeting.
Table.
Gee, if only we met twice a month, then we could spread the stuff out.
Yeah, sure.
Landowner outreach. So I spoke to NHACC. They gave us some great tips and sample letters for us working and reaching out with landowners so that we can be more proactive on land purchases.
And that was on June 22nd.
Yep.
You sent that, so people should review that.
It was my birthday. All right. Conservation plan
Not mine.
authorization for expense from funds. So we already approved spending $4,500 to NRPC for the conservation plan, but we didn't specify which fund we wanted that to come from. I think so. I'm looking for a motion this evening so that we can determine which fund we want to take it from. I think we should just take it from the land management fund.
I'll make a
Yep.
motion, to take it $4,500 from the Conservation Land Fund
I seconded
to
it.
pay for the conservation plan from NRPC.
Okay, Joan motions,
Excuse me.
Diane seconded. Any more discussion?
In looking at the budget, it looks like there was training funds in there somewhere to the tune of $4,500.
There's an education
Education
funds and
funds.
separate fund.
Okay, so you don't want to use
Want to
that.
take it out of the
You
account, we
wanna-
could lose it from.
Yeah. Plus, I also think that we should strongly look at educational opportunities because I kind of want to leave that and spend money on education because that is another one of our
But
cardinal.
that's not going to be money we'll lose. We'll lose this other
Got
one.
it.
All right. So I have a motion. I have a second.
One more piece of discussion. Where did that
Yeah.
$4,500 come from for training?
Education.
Different
Sorry.
developer offsets, mostly developers.
Okay. So the motion was to take it
Landowners.
from the land management fund. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. Motion. All right. Those opposed. Those abstain. Motion passes 7-0-0. Okay, property inspections, Musterfield. We made a motion. I can't remember if it was last meeting or the meeting before last that basically mandated that we must inspect all of our conservation properties by the end of this year. let's get rolling. I wanted to do
I'm not
When are you
going
gonna
out.
do this one?
Mustard I was thinking as soon as this weekend.
I've
If
already been
y'all-
up there.
It's gonna rain, do it
this
Saturday,
weekend. Is Saturday,
Friday, Saturday.
which date?
I'm not available this weekend. It's holiday weekend one.
It's gonna rain.
Oh, okay, sweet. We'll move it to next.
I've
I
already
can
been
be
up
there
there.
Saturday. Can anybody else be there Saturday morning if we do it early enough?
I think 9 p.m. 9 a.m.
9 a.m., sir?
9 p.m.
9 a.m.
I don't think I'll be able to make that. My daughter's moving this weekend, so I gotta go.
Oh, yeah, you,
But
yeah.
how do we have? We have 4 of us that can be here though, right?
That's fine.
I
Is that
think
funny?
so. Yeah, it was. So
I've been up there.
Joan,
thousands
So
of
we
Matt,
times.
have 1, 2,
Luana.
3.
I picked the
four.
corn up there.
Yeah,
There's 4 of us.
we don't have to have like ideally we'd have the most people we can,
You-
but
You know how many fields
How
have
long
been
do you
thrown in
expect
from
for it to take?
conservation?
What are you
hour,
talking about now?
hour and a half at the absolute most.
Corn everywhere?
Used to have it, then you buy this land
Joan,
and let it
okay.
go sticks.
Diane. Okay, 9
Three
a.m.
birds.
Saturday morning. All right, on to the next thing.
Okay, purchase of weather station. So I was looking more, Jason was also involved with me looking at possibly getting a weather station. There's already one at the fire station, at the new fire station, but I guess it is as functional as a turnip. So you can get them for a few $100s.
Why isn't that one functional?
TURNIP?
I guess it doesn't I guess the information isn't that accurate, and according to the fire chief it wasn't that great. So we could potentially look at getting one, and it could have a variety of different instruments, and it would also connect to the Wi-Fi or the network, and
How
it would it range between $300 to $500 for
Where
the
would
good
you
ones.
put it? Does it go on top of the building?
It would just take the place of the one at the fire station. John Brunel has been involved too, and he said he could hook it up pretty easily.
How can you get in to read the data though?
It just sends it by the network, and it automatically updates it to. I think it can go to a couple different websites. A couple residents have already input.
Weather Underground.
Yeah,
Need a motion to buy it?
yeah. I don't know if I have a specific cost or a model lined up yet. I've been
Yeah,
looking at.
let's
All
do
right, I
that
make a
first.
motion
Yeah, that.
to do
Get
the
an
research,
estimate.
come up with the cost for the weather station.
Yeah, I mean, I've already been doing that, so I don't know if we need a motion for that, but
You don't- Remember, it's a purchase procedure.
No, he's not purchasing.
I'm
he's
not
just-
purchasing
He's
it.
just investigating
his
costs.
motion is to
Come up with
investigate.
come up with
I
something
want to
that
know
we
how
can
much it's
see.
gonna cost.
Okay,
much it's
if you
gonna
want to look
be,
at a
and-
specific
yeah,
one.
yep,
Okay, all right.
So I need a second.
Brand, amount,
Second.
etc.
Thank you.
I'll keep the elderly together.
And Matt, my offer still stands. If you got like $500, we have the calendar fund that we've got some money in.
Sure, right, for the beautification, we could use
Yeah.
beautification fund. So I guess I could get I guess if we don't know yet, if we wanted, if I could
Get
go
the
and approach
numbers.
the selectmen,
Get the numbers.
so I can all right, we'll
Equipment
do
and
more
numbers.
research
Get the
on that.
num- Yeah, you wouldn't have to go to the selectmen for the beautification fund, right?
I think I,
Do you?
No,
Wouldn't you?
it would be a donation.
That's correct.
really? Okay,
Duck box placement. Matt.
all right. So I have taken the duck box.
Oh, I'm looking at the clock, trying to pass
I
that.
know,
I'm
I
trying
know.
to keep
All
the
right.
clock going.
All right. So the duck box, I'm working on it. I need to get hardware and I need to drill holes so that I can mount it. Other than that, if anybody else would like to help me,
I have sheet metal that can go around the base of it so raccoons can't climb up.
we need that. Perfect. All right. So that's my update. Still work in progress, but I'm
I'm
going to
looking
use
for
a
the
metal
bat
post
box.
out there. What?
Yeah, keep looking for the bat box, because
I
that
know
was
where it
an
is.
expensive bat box. Let us
You
know.
found it?
I got an idea where it is.
When you get to the bat boxes, I have something to say.
All right,
Well,
we're
right.
almost there.
All right.
9:18.
Bird watching.
Bird watching.
Bird watching. So I was just thinking kind of on top of the tours we already do of conservation areas or something, we could do like a walk and do bird watching and like looking for certain birds. Everyone
sounds
can
like
come for a
Joan.
walk. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking.
That's a
Joan
Joan thing.
Joan
It
would
would
want-
be a perfect spring opportunity early in the morning, spring.
okay.
So we'll
So if
table
you're
for now, but we'll do for next year.
yeah, if you're
Yeah,
interested in doing
I'm
that.
interested.
Okay. All right, bat boxes. John Latcha.
And we'll do what to do with it.
Okay. I think he had a property in mind. I'll reach out to John Latcha again
We
because he
talked about Darrell
donated it.
Pond, because you need
Here,
to walk
I'll,
by water. We talked about Darrell Pond,
Yeah.
and we
We got
have a
pine trees
huge
we
bat
put up
box,
there.
metal bat box.
The fire department let me use last.
Keep talking.
What is
Do you
it?
think it's at,
All right,
do you
so-
think it's at the transfer station?
Thank
Do you think it's at the transfer station?
Mr. Chair,
Upstairs.
Jason, go
Thank you.
ahead.
Pass this
in
down.
regards to
Oh, I
bat
have the same
boxes,
copy. I was going to show.
I was approached
I have
by
Scotty.
a citizen last night. She sent me a message saying her son's got a sophomore project.
Mhm.
And what he's looking to do is build bat boxes.
Perfect.
And
Nice.
so I put her in contact with you. I gave her your email, and I think she's going to have her son contact you.
Okay, I haven't heard anything yet, but I'll look
This
out for
just
that.
happened last night at
Oh,
like
okay.
11.
All right. Let's see.
Moving right along.
So, if you want to move on to old business, Marion, I know you had done a poll online.
Oh, I did a survey, and I just basically put it out there to ask people why they moved to Litchfield, what they wanted to see happen in Litchfield, if they thought conservation was important, what they'd like to see done with their pond, if they'd like to see it come back to its once famous glory. I got all of 39 answers, and, which isn't much. But the vast majority moved to Litchfield because the farming, the quietness, they wanted to get away from the city and things like that. Others said they're tired of development, they don't like to see what's going on in the community. And they didn't want to see a lot of ballparks coming in or things like that. They like the rustic aspect of the town.
Where was this on the agenda?
I added
Which
this
I
to the
agree with. And these things I printed out horrible. I got a new printer and a new computer, and it was awful. So, and at one point, some guy, Terry Jefferson, said he approached the Conservation Commission about them buying his 6 acres of land, and it was turned down for whatever reason. And I asked him, I said, well, why was it turned down? And he specifically said that it didn't fit into conservation plan, or Joan didn't want it, was his quote. I know, I had to bring it up, I'm being honest.
Oh, now we got grapes.
Now you got what?
Grapes.
Sour grapes?
No, we.
No,
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 we
great,
got
real
grapes.
great, real great.
So, should we look at
You
review
can
this?
look at them now and just,
Look
it's
at
still on Facebook.
Yeah,
We don't do
should.
it.
We can review this, and I think we should include it into our land preservation
and
plan.
we
I
That
have
just
think that 39 responses is nothing. I think that we need to do an actual survey that's gonna get more than 39
Joan
responses.
also sent out a survey.
I know, I forwarded the survey that, I believe the What's Up page did, and they got like 1,200 responses.
Right, that was like when the, what's that?
And the
page first
planning board did a
started.
survey prior to that.
And it just, I think every so often we need to have people get their input on what they want to see going in town, because I can't tell you how many times I hear, I didn't know that that was happening or that's going
I
on.
think we need to reach more, get more, like she said,
And I
Joan
don't-
sent that out,
I
1,200
don't know
responses.
how to do that.
Right,
It's
well,
been done. It's been done twice. The What's Up page did it and the planning board did it prior to that.
I also did a poll in the newspaper, the town's newspaper, for educational opportunities. So we've done a few polls recently.
yeah.
Do you have the results of all these things?
Yeah,
NRPC has the results on the planning board one.
Yeah, I shared the results.
Yeah,
Next.
that would be a good one to have included with the one that What's Up did.
Who?
When-
Which one?
What's else?
NRPC did.
Oh, okay.
Next.
All right. Next on to old business, ArcGIS mapping and trail signage. So Andrew isn't here. Not really sure what the status
See you later.
is. So we'll review this later. I know Jason is taking that over in the interim. Water withdrawal ordinance. I don't know if there's any updates there.
No, there's no updates. I think I'm pulling it back because of one company up north that takes water. I don't want to create problems. And the selectmen didn't ever get back to me on it, so I'm dropping it. See more problems.
Vacancies and appointments. So we have gone through a membership change. We've changed several members over the past few months. It's been very interesting, but I'd like to welcome all our new members and members who've gone from regular members to our alternate members to regular members, some very quickly. And I look forward to working with this whole group. Next, meeting twice monthly. this meeting is once again, we are pushing the limits of going into 3-hour-long meetings. I again implore this commission to consider meeting twice monthly.
Well,
The
one of the
summertime is
things that
fine.
we need to do, and no offense, is that when we're having conversations, and Diane reminded me of it, if we're specifically talking about a particular subject, stick to the subject, and if it's dragging on, we need to end it. And that's it.
And I do my best to do that, but I just don't want to be stomping on people if we're still having a relevant conversation. If things take longer
Well,
to talk about,
you know,
things take
That's what
longer.
happens when you sit at the top of the food chain.
Yep.
I've been there,
Yeah.
You know, I just like to take that.
and I appreciate whatever you're doing, because you're doing all right, you're just learning. And that's part of the game. Yeah,
That's
that's part of
my
it.
comment. I mean, one of the things, the guy from Barron's just kept going on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
He said the same thing over and over. And over.
Yes.
Well, because we kept asking them.
But-
We kept asking different things.
Right. And I guess we can review that, but I'd still really like to have that taken into consideration because
You're the boss, but it's my suggestion.
Well-
okay? Now, speaking of suggestions,
hold on.
Hold on.
Not-
Hold on, here you
Let the
go.
chairman- let the chairman move the meeting.
So I guess I'd still like to table this and see where we are next month, and then again consider it because I am
Summer months are gonna be tough. Take that in mind, okay?
yeah because and I know there's like you've said there's a lot of especially towards the beginning when we have these hot button issues we're talking a lot asking a lot of questions, but you know I also don't like to see that when we have a lot of stuff to talk about, like we're just like spending more time on some stuff and then towards the end we're just like punching through it really fast and maybe not giving it the same amount of time we need. So the next item was hiking information from Harry. I don't know if you have anything else.
well, it isn't actually hiking. I just passed this out. What I happened to be reading an article, and the Fish and Game have this, what they call monofilament recycling project. And I know that Matt, okay, I know that Matt has brought up several times at Moore's Falls that you found fishing line.
Mhm.
And I called this Fish and Game, and of course, their response was fantastic. What I'd like to do is pursue it with Fish and Game, find out what we have to do, what the cost is, and how it's done. The other thing I was thinking of is getting with the Recreation Committee at the boat launch.
Mhm.
Those are the two areas.
Or Dara.
Huh?
Dara. There's a lot of fishing at Dara.
Is there?
Yes. Oh yeah. Daily.
And it's a mess.
Because Chester had
It's a
put
mess.
the color copies in the this month's issue of
Okay. I
Wildlife Journal.
didn't, yeah,
And
I,
I don't know if there's a,
All right, so
did
we're gonna
they
review this.
make
and then-
these?
no, apparently you purchase them.
I mean, that's what I mean. Can you purchase them from?
Yeah,
Fish
and
Game?
that's what I got to find out.
Yeah.
You could
But I
also
would-
make these.
With the committee's permission, like to pursue it and find out what exactly is involved and all this sort of stuff. And I'll make sure the Fish and Game, I think, be a pain.
I think it's a good idea. You should pursue it, definitely.
So got the okay to go ahead and chase it?
Well, do we want a motion?
PVC
I also
pipe
brought
or
this up a
elbow
few
going
months
in.
ago.
Pardon?
I remember I brought this up a few months ago because it was from Chester Conservation Commission that did it with Fishing Game. And they did a post on Facebook and I think that I brought this back up in May.
I make a motion that we instruct Harry to pursue the monofilament recycling project with Fish and Game.
I second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
All right, Joan, was your aye? I'm gonna
Yes,
assume
oh,
yes.
yes,
7.
yes.
All those
Who seconded
opposed?
that? I'm sorry.
I did.
Not-
No opposed, any abstained? No, motion passes 7-0-0. All right, next, other business. So our next meeting is August 5th, same time, same place. And now we have a weather report now. I'd like to go more in depth with them, but I grabbed some information from volunteers with weather stations in town. The highest temp recorded at these two was 100.2 degrees Fahrenheit, 98.8.
Hold on, hold on. You're
For
going
June?
so fast.
For June. This is for the month of June. These are the highest
102 was
temperatures.
the high?
Well, for one station, it was 100.2, and the other is 98.8. Both of these are located in central Litchfield in a similar
Okay.
area.
Okay.
Lowest recorded temperature, one was 41.9 degrees Fahrenheit, the other
Wow.
was 42.8 degrees Fahrenheit. The first station was 2.49 inches of total precipitation for the month of June. The second was 2.32 inches. And I know the National Weather Service actually recommends that we use like a physical rain gauge as opposed to the electronic one. So we might consider getting one of those as well. With that, is there any public input? Wow,
You just have nothing else.
you sat through this.
Commission does.
Wow.
I've always wondered.
Wonder no more.
I know.
You saw the whole
This
thing.
is where outdoorsiness meets the bureaucracy.
That's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
That's exactly it.
You want to be an alternate?
We have
Other
openings for
business,
alternate.
other business.
What other business?
Other business.
Oh, all right.
Okay, other business. We got this State of the New Hampshire Birds Conservation Guide. We got 2 of them. I probably can get this online from Audubon. And I made copies, but they didn't, a copy of what Audubon does. It didn't come out that well, so I'll show you the color copy: conservation science, environmental education, environmental policy, and land stewardship. It's a very worthwhile book, and then it tells what landowners can do, what conservation commission can do, as a community official, what you can do. So I'll try and get this from them online instead of having them send 6 more copies. And then I have non-public stuff. Can we skip minutes and go on to, again, skip minutes?
All right. Next month we'll be approving minutes for 4 months. actually, hold on. Before we actually hold off on that, what is the RSA on how long you can go without approval?
There is no,
We do have the draft minutes available for the public.
yes, we have, the minutes are available.
One thing I noticed right off the bat, Jason's name is Jayson.
Right, I know that.
Oh, you did know that because it's Jason and all that.
Not in mine. Mine's J.
I think that might be
Okay.
Andrew.
June
possibly.
1st. I only did June 1st.
Yeah,
I
we can go-
just started reading through them tonight.
I think I think we can just go back and amend those without like that. If
Yep.
that's how your name's spelled, that's how your name's spelled. So
Well, yeah, because there's some spelling names on other. Andrew did April, May. I did June.
you should should see how many
Wanna make a
different ways
motion?
my last name is spelled.
Make a motion that we go into non-public.
All right, I
And
second.
wait a minute, I have the.
Discussion.
Any
what?
further
I
discussion?
just had one other
Thanks for
topic.
coming.
Yeah.
One other topic for next meeting.
Okay.
Just 2.
I'd like to be able to carve out 15 minutes to talk about the land preservation plan
Yeah.
and get moving on that.
Good idea.
It's one of those things, I asked folks from the commission to send me an email listing the criteria that they would look at when we purchase land in town.
Mhm.
And this is what we came up with.
Yeah.
Luann and I kind of mixed yours
Yeah, I
in
see
with
that.
a few because of, so at the next meeting, Matt, I'd like to go over these. We're gonna be able to kind of vote on them. We're gonna use some technology to figure out what we like, what we rank first, what we rank last. And then it'll source all of our information and, essentially give us results on what people think as a group.
Mhm.
And I think that will allow us to figure out what's at the top of the list and what's at the bottom of the list. That's just a quick first pass, and that's what I want to go over next meeting, if we can carve 15 minutes out.
So did you send that as an email, the finished list? I remember seeing the.
No, I did
question.
not. I'd sent this as, a lot of this as an email, and then a few
I
people
don't remember
chimed in
even
on it.
see it. Okay, I'll look back.
And I'll be
I'll
doing,
send this back out and see if you want to add
Okay.
onto this.
and I'll be
And bring your iPhones, Harry. Bring your iPhone with you. If you don't have one, I'll bring one for you.
What's an
Because we're going to
iPhone?
hold our iPhones up to the screen, and you're going to be able to vote on the
Oh,
iPhone
cool.
and hit a button, and it's going to magically pop up the
just like
results up there.
college.
Bring one.
I'm gonna be.
No, I'm not kidding. We're
I'm
going
gonna-
to blasting this place into
You know,
the stratosphere.
technology.
I'll be including the land.
I got it at
I'll
work
be
too.
including the land management policy kind of in tandem with that. I've decided that we we should do that kind of all together as a contiguous thing. Yeah, no, that's what we're gonna do.
There's two parts of this.
Yeah, that's fun. That's gonna be one.
Smoke
All
signals
right,
don't
there's
count.
a motion and a second.
Second.
Seconded.
Adjourn. Actually,
Non-public.
to go into non-public, I believe Kevin, you moved.
Made the motion.
Who seconded? Somebody seconded.
I
I did.
Not seconded.
All
Stop,
right,
guys.
seconded.
Killing me.
All right. All-
Should we shut the door?
Any further hold on. Not any further discussion. All those in favor signify by
No, you have
saying,
to have a roll call vote.
oh, roll call vote. Sorry. I am an I.
Aye.
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 Jason?
I
Aye.
All right. We are now in non-public. Thank you for joining us.
Aye.
We're gonna let one horn guy.